Love, light of valuable energy, the language of various experiences, the last occult vortex of evolution. Love is the most ancient or original religion. It has no visible temple, nor any readable scriptures. It is the root underneath which nourishes and spirituality is a branch, and religions are leaves. Love is a state of interbeing, not an emotional, fleeting feeling. Love means trying to find oneself reflected in the other. Love is a mirror. Meditation is a search without a mirror. You cannot love less and you cannot love more, because love is not a quantity, but a quality, which is immeasurable. Love is something within you which is beyond and beyond all that is measurable, therefore unlimited. Love is a byproduct of a rising consciousness, a blossoming of one's being. Love is the ultimate value, the final flowering out of the shadow of risen light of consciousness. Before you attain to it, you will have to disappear. When love will be there, you will not be there. You and love cannot exist together because love is a full quantum state. Love is both an impelling and compelling motive for manifestation on individual and universal levels. Love is the synthesis or perfecting and blending and balancing of all dualistic perceptions, the summation of all polarities. Peace, everybody. I read that from The Functionary by our brother Dr. Blind, Professor Emeritus. Y'all can get a hold of this book, it's off the hook. The brother did some serious research. Well, we here with our big brother Bobby Hemmitt, live from Atlanta, here with Alvin Productions. And he's going to give us some on love, and this tape is a universal tape. It's for people that's in love, out of love, want love, trying to find love, don't want love, don't want to be loved, love somebody they hate, but it's for everybody. So without any further ado, I'll bring you our brother Bobby Hemmitt.
I'm glad to be back in New York City, a place that definitely needs love. 8 million stories that might be about love, past loves. Either you know somebody that's in love, or you know somebody who has loved before. You know someone who fights love. You know someone that is afraid of love. You see. But ultimately, love will conquer all, not in a metaphor, but as the vortex, like Dr. Blind said, the last vortex of reality, of disillusion, of desolation, abomination, and the land in where we are going. To give you a little bit about that, when you fall in love, you're actually feeling in a glimpse of the place where we will be ending up. You are feeling the other dimension, the other realm, in which all religions have talked about, the hereafter, the day that be with us, the upper room, heaven, and all of those things. We might add that we're going to talk about love and sex, because the name of this is the magical, metaphysical mysteries of love and sex. And so we're going to be dealing with both of those. But as we say, love is the last frontier. But I want to take it off of the cliche level when people say, oh, we need to love everybody, or oh, love is the key, and all of that. This word has been overused. And a lot of times the scientific analysis or the metaphysical information never comes with it. So it becomes this empty word. And we'll show tonight these mysteries of love, as well as me being in love myself.
Oh, man.
One of the second phases of what I call the cosmic love phase. And it's interesting because this just happened within the last couple of weeks. This happened damn near overnight. So I want to dedicate this particular tape to the Sister Linda Latin, also known as the Mystical Babylonia. I will get into the science on her and the science on how I got hit over the head, nose wide open, beat down, but this love also being reciprocated. You know what I'm saying? On that particular level. We're not talking about a one-sided thing. And we're not talking about anything negative. We're talking about something that's divine and something that is balanced. We're talking about Mayat. So we'll deal with that particular aspect. So in order to do this, the first thing we need to do straight up is the pour the libations as we do to get the energy started.
All right.
As you know, we have the rum. This is the Don Q Gold is what we are spitting today. Something that I hope these particular entities like. You know, you can bring me that cup right there and I can pour them a little bit also.
All right.
Put it right here. That's nice. Right there. See, as you can see, that's a vesica shape, which gives us the mighty yoni that you know of as the vagina, which we should be worshiping at this particular time. You see what I'm saying? We will get into that. But then again, the functionary said, one of the ancient religions, you know, one of the ancient religions. So let's give them that in the yoni, which is the vesica, the yoni, which is fitting. And also, let's spit 4 ways and bring in the entities, the gods. All right. Okay. Babylonia, Babylonia, Babylonia. Ashe. Labado. Ashe. Luigi. Atama. Orawado. Powa. Ogawadi. Leowa. Godugo. Biwasta. Amatis. Awudage. Brigida. Sekun. Keku. Haniel. Tarek. Dagan. Hanai. Arim. Aduma. Josharis. Artemius. All right. Zarabanda, Zarabanda, Zarabanda. El Cristo Negro. Las Spiritus and Tranquilis. Santissima Muerte. San Simon. El Cristo Rey. Madre de la Luna. Madre de Agua. La Santissima Pedra Eamon. Francisco C.H. Reyes. Mama Shola. Ishtar. Monu. Noku. Mana. Inmatu. Titi. Jova. Iya. Ayo. El Malik. Dragon. Notorio. Babylonia. Babylon. Otincha. Tiacha. Sheola. Shumala. Omagumu. Alcala. Lokeo. Kakumbo. Lalila. Owalensi. Owalensu. Exanthes. Kasembo. Nisabab Isala. Althea Lukea. Pazuzu. Lucifer. Anubaresh. Ashe. We're talking to the brother Anubaresh as we go on. Erzuli. Erzuli Frida. Orawado. Powa. Ogawadi. Leowa. Godugo. Biwasta. Amatis. Awudage. Brigida. Sekun. Keku. Haniel. Tarek. Dagan. Hanai. Arim. Aduma. Josharis. Artemius. All right. Zarabanda, Zarabanda, Zarabanda. El Cristo Negro. Las Spiritus and Tranquilis. Santissima Muerte. San Simon. El Cristo Rey. Madre de la Luna. Madre de Agua. La Santissima Pedra Eamon. Francisco C.H. Reyes. Mama Shola. Ishtar. Monu. Noku. Mana. Inmatu. Titi. Jova. Iya. Ayo. El Malik. Dragon. Notorio. Babylonia. Babylon. Otincha. Tiacha. Sheola. Shumala, Omagumu, Alcala, Locayo, Kakumbo, Lalila, Owalensi, Owalensu, Exanthes, Kasembo, Nisabab Isala, Althea Lukea, Pazuzu, Lucifer, Anubaresh. Ashe. We're talking to the brother Anubaresh as we go on. Erzuli, Erzuli Frida, Erzuli Doba, Grain Erzuli, Agazu, Abetuzu, Azane, Zakavoro, Zakamari, Zakasi, Guadi of the Netherworld, Guadi Nebo, Guadi Braid, Guadi Double, Guadi Fatuous, Guadi Azim, Guadi Uwara, Green Bridget, Spouse of Grand Bridget, Spouse of Baron Samadi, Baron Samadi, Baron Lacrutz, Baron Simides, Sabo, Babe, Agu, Loki, Adum, Azuli, Ashi, Dan Balawedo, Dan Balaflango, Edawedo, Congo, Congo Nasbad, Capelo, Mandadangi, Boomba, Kita, TG Thea, TGP Feeds, TGP Sec, Manet TPCs, Mandadagi Muasi, Miss Charlotte, Dallasilian, Osa, Aset, Heru Aha, Harsafi, Nebhurt, Kali, Kalima, Pravati, Sati, Ishtar, Anana, Astarte, Aphrodite, Venus, Mercury, Dionysus, Rudra, Shiva, Pravati, Simbi, Sri Lakshmi, Durga, Devi, Tara, 10 Mahabodhayas, Camothis, Hemmitt spirits, Hemmitt, Newt, Apit, Tyert, Sethar, Setesh, Sutneset, Sutnubit, Melektas, Melchizedek, Sutek, Awas, Ovas, Ivas, Awaz, Bess, Butches, the Doom, Camothis, Kimu, Tim, Kunsu, Mut, Anpu, Anubis, Tahuti, Hermes, Anunnaki, Nibiru, Nebheru, Suras, Netters, Nephilim, Typhon, Tiamat, Araskagul, Echidna, Ishtar, Kingu, Mamu, Labu, Abu, Laamu, Leviathan, Latiathan, Baal-Shem, Butches, the Doom, Uwajet, Nekabet, Sekmet, Mayat, Metatron, Sashet, Selket, Nebhurt, Bass, Patah, Amenrithasar, Osar Tentiamenti, Isis Satis, Anukis, Satis, Nudisis, Nuisis, Muisis, Mut, Kunsu, Minshep Sensei, Ramanatu, Tamothis, Kanununum, Lilith, Layla, Lilu, Lilitu, Asuras, Kalipas, Harlots, Baal-Shem, Butches, Tadun, Mu'uwawa, Umbaba, Cthulhu, Shabnigara, Hasta, Yoksatos, Unkulakulu, Nakumba, Umbelinga, Ama, Neama, Ba, Na, Ka, Yugaru, Digitalia stages, Nomo, Harvest Sept, Harvest Herukahudit, Hamaku, Hamakis, Raharkiti, Harpocrats, Hemmitt spirits, 4 sons of harvest, Amit, Apt-Ert, Atin, Aman, Amin, Emmanuel, Bel, Butches, the Doom, Diabos, Shut-on, Satan, Tabdit, Abdit, Sad, Had, Sabdu, Bel, Mithra, Kingu, Kimu, and I guess that would do it at this particular time. We'll some others will jump out as we go on. We want to deal with the Great Mother Aphopis, Apit, Tired, Newt, Noon, Sophia, Gaia, Okeanos, Tartarus, Eros, Hercules, Bacchus, Phanes, Jason, Medea, Persephone, Demeter, Hecate, Hecate, Peket, Reket, Bel, Apollo, Artemis, Athena, Nemean Lion, moving right along, Perseus, and we deal with the Congo spirits, Ra spirits, Petro spirits, and the voodoo spirits at this particular time, because we know of Haiti and the uprising, the 100-year uprising that happened in Haiti also. That is now the 200-year anniversary of that. 200-year anniversary of that. As we said, the piece that was read from The Functionary, which is a new book put out by a brother by the name of Dr. Blind, a brother named Dr. Blind. And that is a book which is a black dictionary. It's a metaphysical dictionary. It's an occult dictionary. It's a conspiracy dictionary. It's a money dictionary. It's a financial dictionary. It's a folk dictionary. It's a complete and major work by a brother by the name of Dr. Blind, Professor Emeritus of Chocolate City University, by way of Orangeburg, South Carolina, University of South Carolina, and now hails in Washington, D.C. In order to order the functionary, you want to call Dr. Blind's cell number 240-447-6146. 240-447-6146. This is Dr. Blind. This is the prototype copy. It is off the hook. This is also a picture of Dr. Blind.
Everybody get this book.
In the back of the book.
It's amazing.
It is amazing, and it parallels my career as I was dealing with certain things that I was dealing with over the last couple of years. Dr. Blind has been compiling this particular functionary, which is the ultimate in esoteric and unknown terminology, and it's just unbelievable, and you won't be able to put it down. Going right along, we have a lot to cover. One of the books that we want you to get is a book called Love is a Fire by Llewellyn Vaughan Lee. Do you have that book?
Yes, somewhere.
Yeah, but wherever.
It'll take me forever. I got it.
Yeah. Llewellyn Vaughan Lee, Love is a Fire. Another book is the Science of Love. What's that? The Science of Love. Science of Love by Dr. John Baines. Right. And we'll be giving you several books that you need to deal with. We'll give you tantric books also that you need to deal with. That you also need to deal with also. To start off with this, we must understand that what we're talking about here is more of a cosmic force. It can't be explained. Now, it was said in a college class I had one year, a black guy by the name of Dr. Latta Thomas used to teach at Benedict College, and he was a preacher. If there's anything profound that the preachers ever said, this is one that was the most profound thing, where he had mentioned that he had some friends, and he had some friends that was talking about, well, you know, a lot of things that they don't believe in, a lot of things that's not scientific, things that they can't see, things that they can't feel. And so they was getting on him about the concept of spirituality and spirit. And in order for him to win the argument, he said, well, how do you explain love? What is this thing? And he won the argument because both of the guys who was arguing with him had been in love before. And they knew right then and there that he was talking about something that you couldn't feel, something, well, let's put it, something that you couldn't touch. I want to put it that way because you damn sure feel it. But something you couldn't see, some invisible force. You see, that is the basis of spirituality. In that particular case, you don't need the deity that you worship as the litmus test of whether you are in something spiritual. When you see Christ, quote unquote, the picture of the Jesus Christ, and you see the heart chakra, and you see him holding this heart, the only thing there is the heart. The man or the person is just a figure or an image to give to you so that you can better understand it. But too often we get lost in the figure and the male image, other than what is this thing truly talking about? And how does it represent me if you are a woman and you got this male image? Well, he has the heart, and he's holding the heart. It is not that white Jesus Christ you see, definitely. It is the heart, which transcends the figure that you see, which is a later figure, because we can go back to ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, where the basis of the judgment scene in Egypt is the weighing of the heart. So we're still talking about the heart chakra, the mysteries of Osiris, the mysteries of Dionysus, the mysteries of Bacchus, the mysteries of Phanes, the mysteries of Shiva. And we'll go into some of that particular aspects as we go on. But for the first time in history, 2,000 years ago, which no matter how great the Christians claim, Jesus is loved. Jesus comes as a debauchery because Jesus comes in the motif of the Roman government, devoid of the penis, the phallus. And that is the difference between the ancient Christ, Osiris, Osar, Bacchus, Phanes, Dionysus, Shiva. And these gods came with the phallus, the god Mem. And the debauchery is the phallus not being there means that you cannot identify it with your own self, both male and female, because the male can say, well, hell, I got a vagina so I can identify with that penis. You see? But you can't identify with it in your own human experience, and yet love is where this particular, the human body and the human experiences is the origin of where this love is going to actually seed and grow and fester and manifest. You see what I'm saying? So you got the heart, but you don't have the penis. Now there's different levels, but we understand the heart being this divine aspect, and it can be separated from sex. But you cannot omit the phallus, the vagina, the vesicle, the lingam, and the yoni. So the best one kept intact would be the mysteries of Shiva. the mysteries of Shiva and Pravati, or Shiva and Shakti in India, because you get the lessons of the phallus, which is the lingam, and the vagina, which is the yoni. So there's several books. Ecstasy Through Tantra by Dr. John Mumford. Tantra, The Cult of the Feminine by Andre van Lijsbeth. Sexual Alchemy, Donald Tyson. Tantra, The Way of Action by Francis King. Putting this thing back to the human level, when Dr. Ben used to say that the latter gods, the Hebrew, Judeo, Christian, and Islamic gods, become unattached, or detached from man, unapproachable. You see, unapproachable. So therefore, this mystical aspect of love is lost because it is not manifested on the physical on one particular aspect, and it's not connected to us. So this particular love that we give to Jesus Christ is unapproachable. Whereas this love is not talking about some man out in space, some spook god. It's talking about the heart chakra. And that's what we'll be dealing with also. So this particular person becomes without the phallus. It comes without the divine aspect of the male organ, since we're talking about this male Christ. Right. But we can't separate this thing here, because we can't separate this from the female aspect, because we also know that the female aspect is also has a lot to do with the Virgin Mary, which is nothing but the ultimate Osset or Isis mysteries. The whole book, Isis in the Greco-Roman World. Here's a new book that will explain a lot of that. It's called Isis Magic, by this word, Isidora Forrest. M. Isidora Forrest. Cultivating the relationship of the goddess of 10,000 names. Ultimately, a lot of our female mistress of Sophia, the female mistress of Mary, the female mistress of the Holy Shekinah in the Kabbalistic mysteries, is coming from the Osset mysteries, which her temple, the temple of Philae, ironically was the last temple to close in Hemmitt. Wow. And after it closed, Europe went into a dark age. But before it closed, they took 100 years to translate from Metanetta into Coptic, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Aramaic, Islam, as far as Arabic. They translated the Metanetta into the existing languages of the latter days before that temple of Isis closed. So it's documented in groups of studies that came out from in the early 1990s, symposium called the Alexandria Symposiums, where they came together and they brought out all this stuff that the Europeans was holding on to for years, you know, more and more of these conferences and stuff that came out of the Library of Alexandria. And as a result, they came out with these particular books. And in one of those books, they go into how all of this stuff was translated into metaneta. And that's how we get a lot of the mysteries that we have now. So, despite what people think, the people didn't come in and steal anything. How could you steal something from a people and you don't know how to read their language?
Right.
That means that those people had to systematically and on purpose translate this stuff from metaneta. You see. So, moving right along, we have a lot to cover. Okay. As we go on, let's deal with the heart chakra. The heart chakra is not only a chakra, but it is also a subtle organ in the body. Here's a book called Theosophia by Arthur verse Lewis. This is what the Pope and all of them worship. This is the true meaning behind the papacy. If you look on the back of the book, you will see a little heart.
Yeah, I see it.
With an eye in the middle.
Let me get it. I got it.
See it?
Yeah.
The heart with the eye in the middle. You see. Now,
what's that significant of?
it's the heart chakra, but it's also the all-seeing eye.
Right.
So we're also talking about consciousness. Now, yesterday, I did a lecture yesterday, and in the lecture, I explained in this particular book, this is a book called Kundalini Evolutionary and Evolution and Enlightenment, edited by John White. And I showed this particular diagram of how consciousness rises up from the base, from the genital area, the navel area, and the short and the heart area. You don't even become conscious until you hit the heart chakra.
Wow.
You see. So it is, you can see why the eye, let me draw this out. You know, shoot. Me being an artist, at least I can do is draw it out. You know. And draw it out at least. And where it has the eye, I'll put the eye of Heru in it for the people. But here's the heart. This is the heart, as it says, it shows here, and there's an eye in the middle. You see. So this diagram here, this is where the consciousness flows. So in so many words, you don't even become conscious until it hits the heart chakra.
Okay.
That's why most people, consciousness is down here in the genital area, which is called the animal car. There's the animal car, that is the inferior car, and then there's the divine car, which starts from the heart chakra on up into the third eye, the pineal gland, and pituitary gland, the hypothalamus region of the brain. So this is called the inferior car. This is called this is called the animal car. Then the inferior car that would reach from the middle of the genitals into the navel. And that's where most people are. And then what is called the divine car. The divine car is when you come into consciousness like a few people on the planet, but not the masses. The inferior car is where most people are, or the animal car. And animal car is ruled by nerves, hunger, lust, greed, and raw, the raw urges. You see. And the inferior car is called automaton, or automation. So you can have highly educated people, they are automated by society, they're just running on what was taught to them in the context of their experiences down here, and what is provided for them based on what part of the civilization they are in. So whatever your civilization is and whatever is provided for you in your particular civilization, in your customs, in your culture, and whatever, is where they are in automation or automaton. But on one particular hand, what this also means is they don't go beyond what is given to them based on their experiences, their culture, or their civilization, or their country. So they don't have the divine vision to see beyond their regular, routine, mundane function of life. You see what I'm saying? This is also explained in a book, The Opening of the Way. The Opening of the Way by Isha Schwaller de Lubitz. The Opening of the Way by Isha Schwaller de Lubitz. This is the older model from the early 90s. There's, as far as the cover, there's another cover on it, a blue cover with the Temple of Karnak on it, light blue cover, with columns from the Temple of Karnak. This is the older cover. But they go into this whole aspect of the divine car, the inferior car, and the animal car. In the animal car. And most humans operate from those particular aspects. So we're talking about the heart chakra being none other than a function of consciousness. That's what that eye is. And this starts the consciousness. Now this is interesting because when we look at a person falling in love, for a brief period of time, whether they use the ego, whether they play games, or whether they let it annihilate them, the annihilation is the object, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. Either way, they must admit, whether they fight it or not, that they are not the same as they were before they fell in love. It is something that alters and changes a person. And it is the driving force that will get a person to do something that they normally wouldn't do. And you know it's a form of consciousness because it usually happens when you don't plan on it. You know what I'm saying? So some people say, I choose to be with this person because I want to fall in love with this person. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to fall in love with that person. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it could be some person that you might not even like that you fall in love with. You see what I'm saying? That you fall in love with. You know? It might be some person that you don't even like. You've heard people say, I love you, but I don't like you. That means what we're talking about here is, we're talking about a force that is outside of your regular function, your regular thoughts, in your regular schemes, your regular plans, and your regular ideology, and idiosyncrasies. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is a good chance now to ask me some of those particular questions of love.
All right, everybody.
To get into the flow of this.
One moment, and we'll be back with those questions. All right, we back, and we got these questions. All right, starting off. The first question, most of these questions was from sisters, man. Yeah, good. Because sisters is the one who really are open to this.
Well, first of all, before we do that, I want to tell people about a certain amount of things.
That's right.
It's more than fitting to show you this particular picture right here. And show you what went on. This is a picture that is a picture of a woman from 1851 is when this picture was done. This is all connected. It's all connected. Now, the guy who did this picture is by the name of Charles Henry Joseph. And And he went to the Sudan in the 1800s. This was actually 1848. And he went, and you get a picture of that? See, yeah. Let me know if it's the glosses on it or not.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, good. And he did this particular picture, and it's called, the guy's name is Syed Abdullah of the Mayak Kingdom of Darfur, Sudan, 1848. And he did this particular picture of this particular Sudanese king in 1848. When he was in the Sudan, he saw this beauty. He saw this beauty. And he was so smitten by her that he went back 4 years later to capture her. These are all in bronze statue. That guy and Henry Joseph. His last name, excuse me, Charles Henry Joseph Cordier, Cordier. Charles Henry Joseph Cordier, French. He lived between the time of 1827 and 1905. So next year would be his 100th year birthday. Excuse me, his 100th year, the 100 years of his death, let's put it that way. This person, he was so smitten by her beauty until he named her the African Venus. Now you go down to the table right here, and you will see a veve of the goddess Erzuli, who is also the goddess of love. You see. Now, we also see on this wall the goddess of love, Heru, or the goddess Hathor. Both of these figures of the goddess Hathor, as well as this figure here of the goddess Heru of Hathor. Now what is also interesting here is, this is a picture of the goddess Isis with the seat on the head. But this is but this particular picture here, as we see, is the new rendition of Nefertiti that was done. When was this thing done? Recently. This year, they just did a new rendition of the Queen Nefertiti on how she would actually look. I had the article from USA Today. But she's called Beautiful One, Nefertiti. All right. There's the goddess Nefertari, which would be in a picture like this, sitting beside the god of Ra-Hoor-Khuit, or Ra-Heru-Kahudi, at the temple of Seti I, the first Holy Land. And at that temple of Seti I, the first Holy Land, it was built for Seti I by Ramesses II when he was 18 years old, or 21. I think it's either 18 or 21. He built the temple of Seti I in Abydos, which they shamelessly visit. They very rarely visit on the tour. But there's Nefertari, that is the wife of Ramesses II, and her name means most beautiful one. Ironically, the hammer done hit me in the head and bust me in the head and got me all fucked up with this little thing. And her name is Linda, which is also I say Spanish. I think it's Spanish for a beautiful one. You see what I'm saying? For a beautiful one. And it busts me in the head. And I say, now, I go around the country lecturing to people. And I have a lot of people looking up to me. I am looking for someone that I can worship. And I now receiving the goddess that I can worship. And the day that I don't worship you, you need to chain whip my ass. Chain whip my goddamn ass.
Goddamn, B. Got you, bro.
Because it has to get to the other realm. I'm going ahead of myself. It has to be complete love. And I say now, I have one mission on the planet, and that is to completely love and worship this being, which is also the goddess Aset or Sophia on the higher level, came with the new name Babylonia, which was given 2 weeks ago. I'm going ahead of myself. Now going back, this is the goddess of love, and although this was an actual woman that lived in the 1800s, she's now passed, but her energy still dwells in the photograph, because it is the goddess Heru that first inspired Joseph Henry Cordier to do it. He was smitten by her beauty, went back 4 years later, and did this particular piece. Now, there was a debate in the early 1990s on whether dreadlocks originated in Africa or in the Caribbean. As we can see, and you can blow this up and you can zoom in or whatever, that it is clear that these are dreadlocks or locks, divine locks, that's in the 1827 on the African continent. You understand what I'm saying? So that breaks that up. Number two, we have had African scholars, John Henry Clark, Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, Asa Hilliard, Leonard Jeffries, James Smalls, all the great illustrious scholars that said that the entire world of beauty, before this was given over to the white woman, and now hit in the head, everybody is smitten by her. But before the white woman, the black woman was the standard and the prototype of beauty. And this, my friend, is what they were talking about.
Wow.
You understand that?
Yeah, bro.
Now, when I went to the museum in Baltimore, she called on me. And she said, come rescue me, so I can show the world and show her to the people. I know that I went to see the Eternal Egyptian exhibit, but I know that I really went there. I saw that in Kansas City. I know that I really went there to see this particular woman and rescue her so the people could see this beauty. And we've been sending these pictures all over the country now, and she communicates with people. Why? It's because it's the goddess Heru, Erzuli, Aphrodite, Inanna, Ishtar, Venus, the goddess of love, the goddess Aset. You see? The goddess of love. And she communicates, the goddess Yeminya. She communicates with people. So, if you want one of these, you send me, because we've been doing it, because what we've done now, I know I'm going to put my little sales pitch up in there, but we can do this.
Straight up.
Fuck that.
Man. People need that shit.
Because, like I said, because like Barbara Shanga said, our African scholars are dying in obscurity being broke. Now, you can help me out, because I've never begged for no damn money in 12 years, but now you need to help me out. Now, in order to do this, we put it on the same museum paper. So it's not going to be this color Xerox, this paper thin. It's going to be, I had to go find some printers down in Atlanta that would print this thing. So now, the going price is $20 a copy, which I don't mind asking the people, because niggas spend money on anything they want to spend money on. See what I'm saying? Right. So it's $20 a copy, and you can get the set. Either the brother, because since we doing love, you get the brother for the energy, which also has dreadlocks. And you get the sister. Now, don't miss out on it, because we got people that's calling and ordering. It's slow now, but it's getting ready to pick up, because everybody who sees this, they're smitten by it. So you can send a money order to 1766 Rogers Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, ROGERS, Rogers Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30310. That's Bobby Hemmitt. Send the money order in the name of Robert Hemmitt, ROBERTHEMMITT.
Well, at the end of this, we're going to hold up the Love Fund.
That's right.
Because it's like sitting at a lecture.
Right.
Stay at home, and they're going to be able to send that to you.
Send it. And to 1766 Rogers Avenue,
All right.
Atlanta, Georgia, 30310. Get a postal money order, and you can either send this thing to get the 2 pictures, because I know some of the people, I need fucking money. I'm begging now. I'm going to be like a crack man now. I'm going to be like a crackhead. Every time you see me, you can turn the other way, because I worked for 12 years and didn't ask for shit. Now, goddamn it, I'm coming with my hand out. So when you see me, you better walk the other way, because I'm begging. Because I'm not going to end up in the poorhouse. And I did all this magical work. Now, you can get the, but for those people who don't want to send, because you can also just send me some money for the Love Fund.
At the end, we'll do that.
Yeah, but if you want to buy something, you send $20. They're $20 each. Because what I had to do now is to go get it produced, because the regular Xerox didn't come out that well. It didn't come out well. So in order to get it produced, I had to go to some printers to print it. And so you're getting the actual reproduction. Of what comes out of the museums. I want to put that there. And this is the goddess of love. And the goddess of love.
All right.
Isis, Erzuli, Ishtar, Inanna, Astarte, Venus, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love. We want to deal with that.
Who was that one in that corner over there?
Which one?
That one right up there.
Who is that?
That's not T.
I think that's Queen T. No, it's not. It's not T. It's can't think of her name right now. You had it.
I had it.
I can't think of her name right now. It slips me. It's not T, but it's not close from that era.
She's here with us.
Yeah, she's here. Yeah, she's not close from that era, but some people will know and they will name it when they get the actual tape. Right. So at this particular time, what we want to do is we want to get the questions down.
Right. Like I said earlier, most of the questions was given by women, and of course we're gonna go with first question is it possible for two people who love each other to absorb the other person's energy, negative energy, who they're with, like the other person's shortcomings? Could it cancel it out? And that goes to what people's perceptions of love is. I think we should. Well, I'm not.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm just gonna go ahead and ask that question because it's not in any order or anything. It's just thrown out, man. So, is it possible for two people who love each other to absorb the other person's negative?
Okay. I don't think we need to be confused. Love is above negative energy.
That's right.
And it's also above the physical energy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
The physical energy. Love is above that, so you must be clear on it and ask yourself, are both people reciprocating? It's a reciprocity question here.
Right.
And you must ask yourself to define what love truly is, and only you can define that in your own heart. And the best way to define that in your own heart is this. The best example is no different than a mother or a parent does with a child. The love is not based on what that person does for you. It just is.
Right.
You don't, if you got a child 8 years old, the child doesn't work, so that destroys that theory that the woman is now dealing with, saying, I need a man with money. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You're capable of loving that child, although that child is totally dependent on you. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't work. It doesn't even have to produce talents, because some people can say, I love you because my child has some type of talent. My child gives me back something of enjoyment. No, this child can be retarded, and you can still love it. That's love because it just is. Look for the same things in your mate. That means that the person can have all kind of idiosyncrasies, but you know you love it. Now, not necessarily saying you need to accept certain pathologies that can also be detrimental to you. But I'm trying to give you a way to monitor what love is. You see, European society and the Western man tells you that I love a Michael Jordan. That people we feel. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Europeans, because a lot of Europeans have damaged heart chakras. Non-developed heart chakras. Some of this is based on culture. A lot of this is also based on genetics.
Wow.
You see. As a result, they produce a culture that is not based and is rooted based on the heart chakra. So the love is like, I like my car. Because my car makes me feel good. It makes me feel it's a status of my success.
Right.
When that car starts to rusty out, starts to rot, fall apart, or it can just be a style that is no longer desirable, then it might make you feel something else. It might make you feel depressed.
So it's not. So you saying it's a difference. It's not how you feel about somebody as opposed to how that person makes you feel.
It's love is based on how you feel about a person, regardless
of how they make you feel. Okay.
The false love is you're taking into account only how that person makes you feel.
Gotcha.
You see the difference?
All right.
White folks, which is a great example, because we live in Western society, so we don't need to fuck around.
Right, right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm making this tape for love for my people.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Because this is what we have to deal with, because our people are at a deficit and at a disadvantage because we can't come together as male and female.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So let's not be funny with this mess. Because the white woman can come up in here and get any black man she wants. And she can look like 400 pounds and in a goddamn wheelchair with one tooth. And can get a nigga.
Right.
A nice looking brother. That's how savage we are. Let's not be funny with this mess. So this tape is not about white folks.
Right, right.
Now I know some people say, well, how can you make a story about love and you don't include all? Because we're not talking about some false love or people that I don't know.
Right, right.
We're talking about the people that we come in contact with. And in this particular case, the people that share the original energy when I get into this stuff. Okay?
All right.
When I get into this stuff. I think you have to get another tape because it's going to be a long one.
It's going to be real long.
It's going to be an 8-hour, goddamn it, maybe a 10.
Maybe 10 hours, but...
Now.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to make is this. White folks were like a Michael Jordan because he has made them feel a certain way with his talents. But yet, they got people that's locked up in prison for fitting the description that look just like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
That he is the same prototype of the man that's jumping up and down on the basketball court. That is love. We want to be like Mike. Is the same prototype that they lock up every day just for looking a certain way. Am I bullshitting or not?
For real, that's it.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right. They pay money to see all these entertainers and athletes.
But yet they come from the place that produces the entertainers and athletes. We got thousands of them.
With talent like that.
With talent just like that. Because anybody in the NBA tell you the best ball players in the NBA never went to the NBA.
That's right.
But my point here is Michael Jordan has produced a certain talent, a certain style to make them feel a certain way. So they can exclude him from the people that they lock down every day in a Holocaust. You understand what I'm saying? So white folks who run European society and European society in which we have found ourselves being caught up in tells you that you love only based on how a person makes you feel. And the love we're talking about just is. That's true love.
Beyond feelings.
Beyond feelings and even beyond looks. When you truly get into this particular love, you'll even fall in love with a person's flaws. Now I know this because I spent 7 years with a girl or a woman 11 years younger than I was. We got together, I was 31 and she was 20. And she had no flaws. Beautiful. Nice, beautiful breasts. Nice complexion. No flaws on the body. And I was with her for 7 years and was content. And didn't necessarily mean I didn't love her, but I saw the dichotomy, or I saw the comparison whenever she did depart and we went our separate ways. That was an agreement. We didn't break up. It was spiritually time for her to go. And my age catapulted me into the 40s because I was like 38, 30, going on 39 at the time. So the range of women that I would deal with would be in their 40s, and even in their 50s, 50 plus. And as a result, I've had two contrasts of youth within a couple of years, and I could tell the difference. I could tell the comparison. And to whereas I was smitten by the sisters that had the age on them. As a matter of fact, that's what turned me on the most. Now, although I'm using something physical, but I'm trying to say here is, love can do the same thing, where you can actually become smitten, admiration, or a love for just the flaws. Because you're dealing with the essence that is hovering over. That's what this stuff, we'll go into some of this is about. And that's what love does. So on one way, we're talking about something above the negative energy what the sister was actually talking about. What the sisters are actually talking about. So in so many words, again, the real origin of that is the same way you look at a child. It's how you feel about somebody other than how they make you feel. Now, we know this for a fact with white folks in the office. You come and you in the morning time, you say, hi, how you doing? They say, how you doing? And you go on about your business. You come back a few minutes, you might see that person again, and you might go, as a black person, how you doing? We greet them every time. And they're looking at you like you crazy. Because, no, we've already done that. They got certain protocols. And they want to know, what the fuck is this black person? Every 5 minutes he got to say something to me. It's just that black people, we go by, we feel. So by we feeling, we engage in contact. That's why black people might not necessarily like you, not because of your political affiliation, you see what I'm saying, or any type of thing that you do, your worldview. They might not like you just because you don't make them feel a certain way. They can't feel you. That's the point I'm trying to make. Because the political thing, you can make a person feel a certain way based on your politics. Black people and indigenous people can go, oh, I ain't feeling you. And it doesn't have anything to do with your political expression, your style, or anything. You know what I'm saying? You can have on a nice suit. You can even be a person that tries to act nice. And they go, oh, I don't know, something ain't right about them. I ain't feeling them. You see what I'm saying? Right. Well, this is also the response of the love. Because what are we really talking about here? Ultimately, we'll be getting into this throughout the whole lecture, is we're talking about the soul. All right. And love is nothing but the expression of when the soul starts to wake up. And when the soul wakes up, it responds. That's what enlightenment is. So you can go with that.
All right, now we got one from a brother, and you could tell us a brother because he says, could you tell us the significance of each chakra, and what do we learn at each chakra?
Okay.
What do we need to learn to move on, and specifically the heart chakra? Okay. Tell us about all the chakras, and what do we learn at each chakra? Well, that's why it was good that I went with this diagram, because basically it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dots within this circle. This is a good one now. This book here, I recommend this book. This is on page 425 of Kundalini, Evolution and Enlightenment by Dr. John White, edited by John White. And in here, you learn certain things. Are those the elements also, the 4 elements? Yes. Up top, yes. All right. Now, are there elements for each chakra, or the elements? That's this. After I'm quite sure that if it by being in the head, after you have a uniting of the energy getting to a certain level, it polarizes the 4 elements. So the 4 elements are produced after a certain illumination of energies. You see what I'm saying? Now, obviously the genitals are the raw. I talked about this on the automaton aspect, so I pretty much answered the question. This is the root chakra, which is desire, raw lust. It can be greed, it can be things on how you feel, but you can't really direct it and stuff until you start going up to each level. Then you become more in charge
of the forces that is down in the root chakra. So it's more important to think about the heart chakra, because this is the first time that these particular elements that is dormant in the root chakra become active.
All right.
And that's when you start feeling certain things. And that's why everybody's capable of love, even the people on the lowest level. You see what I'm saying? Now, if the heart chakra was up here, we'd be in trouble.
All right.
But thank God it's merciful. It's in the middle, so you don't have but a short way to go. And that's why we can fall in love haphazardly. You see what I'm saying, on a particular level. And then, as you know, this is the gateway that starts the enlightenment. And the enlightenment is what you deal with it. Now, what's the difference between love from an enlightened man than love from the average human? The average human is basically it had a simulation of this energy that rises to the particular heart chakra. But because they don't have the divine mind, what happens here is this can be very emotional. It can be set in several games we play. It can be political, and it can be things for a very short time. It's only when you define this in its rightful form that it can move on to the head. When you don't define this when it rises to this particular level, what will happen is it's only a doorway that is open for a certain period of time. And after that certain period of time, if you don't define it, this is when it shuts down and you end up getting divorced. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. Now, what is the gestation of that time? Who knows? It depends on the person. It depends on the energy. It depends on whether it was a real subtle energy or whether you were in love at all. But when you define it by surrendering to it, which is what happens in the book Llewellyn Von Lee book. He said you have to surrender to this. It's only when you surrender to this that it can go on to the head. Now, me being a master myself, I am so glad to be sitting in front of you as an enlightened person, which I was humble for years, so I can earn the right after 12, 13 years to talk about this, but I'm only talking about it from my own experience. And my experience was the first time I did this and got to this particular level. Now, I was in love several times, but the time that I'm going to start talking about being in love will be from the period of 1989 up until now. The first time I was in love with a sister named Kimberly, I fought it for a minute, but I succumbed to it, I guess that's the word. And it ended up being a meaningful relationship where we learned a lot about knowledge itself and mutual respect. And to this day, we are best friends. The second time I fell in love with Ginger, again, it was for knowledge purposes. It was for mutual respect. But because I was repeating it from the second time, I would often say, well, to love a person is not never having to say you love them. This is the way I was feeling, but in so many words, I was comfortable with her. But after she left, and the third time this thing hits, you see, I knew that it had to be something more than just being comfortable. I knew at this particular time I had to deal with my situation because I was an enlightened man, and I had to get from a certain level to go on. I said, now what is this I'm feeling? What is this I'm feeling at this particular time in my enlightenment, and what am I going to do about it? But what I did about it that time was, in order to get from here to here, I neutralized it in the particular aspect is I didn't play no games. I didn't play no games. I didn't fight it. I surrendered myself to it. And as a result, it went here. But it was only a doorway and an opening for the heart chakra to go above the normal aspect of love. So after the energy cleared out, or what they call a karma, burning up, because this fire comes up and it burns it up after a while, I went to another level, and I was able to take that love and give it to who I wanted to give it to. And after that, I went through 11 sisters, and I could give them a portion of the love. It is only now, because having gone through this heart chakra, this thing this bust me in the head recently, within the last 2 weeks, is on a whole nother level. It's even higher than the one that ended up when I went past the heart chakra. Now this one, what's the difference between the one where you went past the heart chakra before? That one, it was only for me to recognize that what I was actually feeling was not necessarily the person that was actually the catalyst, but it was actually my own soul that I was feeling. So this was energy that was for me to recognize my own soul. It was my own soul waking up, like this eye opening within the heart. You get it?
Got it. And on that note, we'll take a small break, and we'll be right back.
You got to change tape? How many hours was that already?
You on, bro.
I'm here?
You here.
All right. So, the last time I was in love, which was recently, it was to get to know my own soul. That's why it's your heart chakra. And it was to get to know my own soul. And the energy down here wax and wanes. So there's windows of opportunities. So, and we're talking about high advanced cosmic love. So I was getting to know my own soul, and I recognized that. And how did I do it? By annihilating myself. Well, how do you annihilate yourself? You annihilate yourself, as I see, by identifying with the heart chakra other than identifying with the situation out here. We'll go into that in a few minutes on the aspect of jealousy. So to identify with the heart chakra, I annihilated myself by going to the next level without paying attention to the situation that I found myself in and focusing on my own heart chakra. Now, once it entered into the head, which is this last part, has a lot to do with where I find myself now. But let me go back. We'll deal with that, where I find myself now. And that is that the energy now has come back, hit me in the head again, the Cupid's arrow. But now, because I am experienced in this and have gone through the initiations, I don't have to go back. As a result, I can take this energy and direct this particular energy in what it's supposed to be, because there's no idiosyncrasies. There's no identifying with Bobby Hemmitt. Bobby Hemmitt has been annihilated the last go around. So now it's in the head, and Bobby Hemmitt is annihilated, and now I can deal with the pure love. The aspect about this now is that this particular form of love does not dissipate. It's the pot at the end of the rainbow. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It is the Holy Grail. Now, what is the difference? What is the difference? It does not dissipate because the simple fact is, I am identifying with a cosmic aspect of my own half, my own self. Everybody down here has a double, a twin soul that you incarnated with. You see, that you incarnated with. Right. And everybody down here has one. The one that I am with now is the twin soul. So now, and only way I could get to that particular level to even receive it or identify with it or recognize it is I had to not identify with Bobby Hemmitt, go to no self, identify with the soul chakra, so that when this twin soul comes, it would be one and not Bobby Hemmitt plus this other person. So I had to neutralize that lower self. Now take for instance, to give you an example. But I'll use that in the example in a few minutes, some other things we're going to deal with. So give me another question.
Okay, all right, it's another one from a sister now.
Yeah.
It says, why do some people who fall out of love, who don't love the person anymore, still find themselves attached to the person, even though they know the other person is toxic to them? Like, you know,
exactly.
Going to bed with them again, rekindling all those
exactly.
Things. Why does that happen?
Well, first of all, they must understand that the person that they are with, when they first initially met that person only acts as a catalyst for you to get to know your own soul. The love is within yourself.
Wow.
So now, everything down here has certain catalysts, certain images, certain archetypes that will open you up or awaken you for a short period of time so that you can get to know your soul, yourself. That's called enlightenment. Now, if the person does not learn that what has happened to them is their own soul and the love is coming from within, then they will still identify with the person who was only a catalyst from the beginning, but they still think that that person's character, that person's, whether his idiosyncrasies or that particular person has something to do with the love that's inside of them, and they are wrong. So when they come back, it's the love that's inside of them has nothing to do with the person once the person is the initial catalyst. So as a result, what happens is they might meet that person a year or two down the road, a couple of years, and everything down there has symbols and images that will make you remember certain aspects of your life. If that person sees this person down here, or sees that particular person a couple of years later, what will happen is that image might catapult them back into a certain feeling or a certain memory that they had. And if that person doesn't understand that that memory is only reminding you of your own heart chakra and the love from within, if they don't understand that, they will think that they're back in love with that person. And although that's wrong, because that person is toxic and is a detriment to them, And that person has nothing to do with what they are feeling, but because they don't have the knowledge of it, they keep thinking that that person is the actual feeling that they are feeling. Now, take, for instance, there's a movie called Adaptation.
Right.
With Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep. Now, in that particular movie, Nicolas Cage is talking to his brother. And he said, you remember you was in high school, you was in love with this girl? He said, well, yeah, I was really in love with this girl. And he said, well, I walked up on this girl, and this girl was talking junk about you.
Right.
And teasing you behind your back. And the guy said, I knew it. He said, well, why you didn't say anything? He said, that was her problem, not mine.
Right.
I was the one in love.
Yeah.
And he understood at that particular time that the love had nothing to do with her actions.
Right.
It had something to do with him. And the love was in him, and he was not going to let her insecurities and her idiosyncrasies, you see what I'm saying, destroy the love that was in him because she's immature. He understood that how she made him feel was an image that was beyond her. It was actually coming from a higher level. And he was getting the benefit of that higher level. You understand what I'm saying? Because his soul was responding. So he said, however she felt about him, that was her problem. Had nothing to do with him. And that's a profound statement. It was one of the most profound things in the movie. You see what I'm saying? Well, that's what's going on at this particular time. The sister that's talking about that person being toxic, she's still didn't realize, that she doesn't know that in actuality that person, that the reaction that person did to make your heart chakra open was gone a long time ago. And this time it has nothing to do. Although you can meet that person and these old feelings can come back, these old feelings were inside of you all the time and never was him. You see, so that's how that particular aspect goes.
That's deep, man. Okay, this is a good one here, man. A lot of people dealing with this. How do you tame or deal with the green-eyed monster jealousy? Is it in the mind or is it in the heart?
Jealousy.
That's two questions. First, how do you tame or deal with it?
Okay, well, in order to answer the one about how do you tame, we have to get to the source.
Okay.
Jealousy is in the mind.
Okay.
Jealousy is all of your past idiosyncrasies, shortcomings, and all of your psychosis based on some trauma, based on some rearing, based on some event that happened in your life to make you incomplete. And as a result, your ego has to inflate itself just to protect you. And as a result, later on what happens is, because of some insecurities and incompletion, you become jealous. Now, how do you become jealous? The jealousy becomes because in this particular thing where you have your genitals to your head, this is energy and the flow of energy in the Kundalini.
Right.
Good one is on the front of the book.
Right.
Is that when the Kundalini energy or these primal energies start to rise, not only does the good stuff open up, but all the bad stuff start to rise also. Right. So if you have a person that you fall in love with, that make you're very interested in, that make you, this energy can be very emotional, and it gives you this great response. Also, it's also waking up those pathologies, those incompletions, those insecurities also in you. So not only does the bad stuff rise, good stuff rise up, but the bad stuff rises up also. So they say that a jealous person is a mentally deranged person that leads a normal life. That's a person who's not been able to get over its own pathologies and problems, traumas, and it registers as jealousy, and they have thinking it has something to do with the situation they're in. No, it's you and your trauma. You see what I'm saying?
And if a person is with a jealous person, what about if the person is not jealous, but their partner is jealous?
It's the same.
That person, you need to leave that person.
You need that. Ultimately, the person has to deal with its idiosyncrasies. Jealousy is not a political act or something you can take off.
Right.
It's only the manifestation of a person's shortcomings.
So can a jealous person love a person?
Yes, a jealous person can love a person.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Yes, a jealous person can love a person. But on the other hand, a jealous person also, because of the jealousy, they might think they are in love with that person, but might not necessarily be in love with that person. It can go either way.
Probably just depending on them.
It just depends, exactly.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because they can do it, because we know that jealousy doesn't necessarily have to do with love. You can be jealous of many things in life and not happen to be in love. You understand what I'm saying? So, you can be jealous of several people that you're not in love with. So, but that person can easily misconstrue a person that they're in a relationship with as being loved because they're jealous of them.
Right.
And they don't understand that this is their own shortcomings. You see them, this their own shortcomings. In that book, Dr. John Bain's book, Jealousy is a mentally deranged person who leads a normal life, in the book, The Science of Love. So,
addicted to the madness.
Exactly. And
and
it will come out not necessarily in the aspect of love, but if you notice one thing about it, if that person is jealous, and you deal with that person even when you are no longer in love, or no longer have a relationship, their same mannerisms, pathologies, and the way they deal with you socially will always come up a form of jealousy. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's just a form of jealousy. So how do you deal with the green-eyed monster? It's based on the individual. You yourself, if you are not the jealous type, you cannot make that other person stop feeling, eliminate the jealousy from their life. That person has to deal with some inner work. And that is the only way that it can happen.
All right.
You see, yeah.
Sweet, man. All right. Time too. All right. Next question is, how do you keep your heart chakra balanced? I didn't get the full meaning of that. I mean, I didn't get the. It's a good question. What they mean by it is this: about all the balance and stuff. This stuff has nothing to do with some type of well-oiled machine or some type of thing like that. But I kind of understand what they're trying to say. You keep it balanced. There's only one way to keep something balanced that's inside of yourself. And that's a complete knowledge and understanding of it. You see what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. We can take any occult book. We can take any occult book. See if I can find a picture of the tree of life. They usually put them in most occult books to try and explain something. And all, you can take any one of these books, and there's an aspect of it. Here's one right here. Right here, where you go up the tree of life in these paths. When you get right here, which I'll talk about later, which is Bina, the 50 gates is also called understanding. So you have to get on this top triad, understanding, to go to the top triad of Keva. You see what I'm saying? So you balance anything through knowledge and information of it. And information of it. You know, yeah. You know, so that's how you do it. Right.
You balance any information based on that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's deep like to understanding because the 5%ers said, when you ask them what is love, they always say love is the highest elevation of understanding. They always say that. It's like, even though they have a more profound definition of it, but the first one you taught and how we were taught is love is the highest elevation of understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, and you said you had to pass through understanding to get to the other.
Yes. So you balance things out by like anything else down here of having a knowledge of it. Right. Most things that are imbalanced is ignorance of it and not knowing how it operates. Right. You see what I'm saying? Right. So that's one of the ways of doing it.
Gotcha. Okay, we got plenty more.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm gonna keep it moving.
Yeah.
Here's one also by a sister, and that's interesting. I got some more that I'm thinking while I'm talking. This one is, what should two lovers do to keep the intimacy going? Like rituals, tantra. What
Yes.
should two lovers do together to keep that intimacy?
Great question. Great question. First thing is, we live in a world of polarities where things down here wax, wane, cycles come and go, up and down, yin and yang, ebbs and flows. You see what I'm saying? When things wax, that means that it's flowing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And when it wanes, that means ebb, or that means it's at a dormant state. Or it's the opposite pole from where the hell you are. So that's the nature of the realm that we are in, this physical realm, because in the Hermetic text they say, is not the man, the woman, the baby real? They say no, they're not real, they're just mere appearances of being real. They say, well, how would you know? The god Tahuti says to Imhotep, or Tat-An, I think it's Tat, he says if it was real, it would be forever, and it would never disappear. Everything on this earth is in a flux of disintegration and rebuilding. So nothing is forever down here. You see what I'm saying? Because if it was, it would be real. These are a series of illusions. Same thing with love, feeling, and anything else. In order for you to keep the intimacy, two things got to happen. One, you got to understand cycles, and this is very important. And very important, especially for married people or people in long-term relationships. This is very important. Until you get to the highest level, which I thank God that I was able to enter into that realm, and I'm going to go into that later on. But at this particular time, as you normal folks, this, you know, what has to happen is just like anything else. Too much of something, too much of anything, you have a burnout. You know, the light that burns the brightest burns the least. So moderation is one aspect of keeping things interesting. Now, you saying if you want your intimacy, I'm going to give you a tantric way, and I'm just going to give you a social way. We'll start with the social way first. Man and woman in their highest civilized state, not the Western state, which is civilized barbarism. We are nothing but products now because we live in the Western world. And the people who fashion this Western world is only giving you a backdrop of their incubation period, which was the cave. Damn. So as the caveman, one thing happened, and this is the social aspect. Well, I'll give you the highest level first and can show you how it deteriorated or how we got in the opposite ends of the poles. In the ancient world, man and woman did not sleep every night in the same room because cycles wax, wanes, and things can repel. If you're in the room and the energy is connected, you got it. But when the energy is stagnant and it repels, not necessarily because there's some things that's going on with your life as far as your behavior, your social aspect. No, it's because energy does that. That's just the way of this earth. And when those energies are repelling, you can burn up the energy, or the energy can drive you apart. How you keep a balance is, sometimes it's best for her to sleep in the other room, or you to sleep in the other room. You got to take a break on that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's best for you to sleep in the other room. This way you can balance out these particular energies. You see what I'm saying? That's one social way of dealing with it. The tantric way is, if the male retains his semen by learning the tantric way of not ejaculating, then what will happen here is he will draw in her energy. And as a result, she can draw in his energy because that's just her nature anyway. He would draw in her energy, and by him drawing in her energy, the energy will be a part of him, and it will be stored in him, and the desire will never go away. But too often, his sexual desire for her, every time he ejaculates, he loses that desire. And that's why you notice some men don't want to touch the woman right after sex. You see what I'm saying? Because he's lost his energy. So if you can you imagine every time you do some stuff, you coming and coming and coming, after a while you will use up that desire. You see, if you don't learn the tantric way on doing that particular aspect, there is another alternative. And it might not be favorable to the Western world, but we have to consider two aspects of this. One is polygamy. Not necessarily in the marriage aspect, but not necessarily so many multiple partners, but it would be healthy to have, I'm just talking about an alternative, something we don't want to deal with now. I'm not telling you to go out, but I'm just trying to say, one of the alternatives is to balance your thing out with other partners. Or if not multiple partners, at least one other partner. And that way you can keep the flow going and the interest in between the two. It would actually enhance some people's relationship. But this can go all the way too, because usually when we say this multiple partner, I don't want to say the word polygamy or whatever, but I also want to use the word polyandry because it is also to the point whereas the woman could very well have another partner too. So it's not just a male thing, whereas, because we also dealing with relationships, whereas he can convince you to take on a second wife, but this is unheard of when you're talking about going out and doing this particular thing. This is a part of the ancient system, whereas one of the systems was, we know that before there was polygamy, there was polyandry. And polyandry was the woman had multiple partners. And as the time went on and the ratio of men fell below a certain percentage, it was the woman that produced a form of polyandry to the male in the aspect of polygamy, so that they could have a balance, so her sisters could have access to males that not males in the society when things fell to a certain level, and all, and this is not disturb the equilibrium.
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
You say that. That goes into it's almost like being conscious out here. There's not too many. It's an imbalance.
Right.
I heard last night when you were talking, a sister said there's more conscious men than there are women, and most of the conscious men go after, well, that's a whole lot of shit. Conscious men go after sisters that ain't conscious.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's some deep shit. So,
yeah.
Would that be for conscious sisters to have more? I don't know, man.
We're at an age of enlightenment where all things should be considered.
Right.
You know, we don't deal with taboos because taboos is what got us here in the first place.
Right.
So my point here is, it shouldn't be that inconceivable when we have sisters that mess around anyway, just like we got brothers that mess around anyway. The key here is to build an equilibrium or ecological system of honesty.
Right.
That she can get, both the male and the female can get used to the idea of somebody else. And also, too, this can neutralize the jealousy aspect. You know, they showed on HBO this polyandry type of retreat that they went on. Oh, yeah. Whereas you go in there with your husband and stuff. Well, this one is a little, well, swingers already got the notion. Right. But this is a little before you get to the swinging aspect. Right. Whereas they take a weekend and you go up here and you take your wife and you got to see your wife being caressed and enjoying another person. Right. You see what I'm saying? As well as she has to see you enjoying another woman. She has to see you enjoying another male. You understand what I'm saying? And as a result, it breaks down certain jealousies that were just programmed based on your social, society, or your culture. Now, my point here is, if you was raised in a society where it was free to love who you wanted, and that's all you knew, that would be just as normal as a person saying that you only supposed to be with that one person. You get what I'm saying? It's so we're still going back to your training. Right. You see, your training, and sometimes we need to break down our training, our taboos that is given to us not by choice, but because we're born in a certain culture. You see what I'm saying?
I'm going to get back to something else you just were talking about, but I want to know one thing about pertaining to this question. It says something about, what was it? Oh, now you talk about tangible, but what about certain rituals that we would do?
At this particular point, in the spirit world, two people can do together. In the spirit world at this particular time, rituals do work. And through a ritual, dealing with certain entities in the spirit world, in some kind of way is done that we have lost the science to. All things are possible, especially when you're dealing with magic. The mystery here is, it's going to have to be, in this particular time, it cannot be an old ritual or something that has been given years ago, tried by many people, and it's burnt out. Yeah. It has to be a ritual that is made up between the two people, and it has to be one that's new. So I say again, the best rituals are the ones you create yourself. You say, but how do I know it's going to work? For the mere fact you can create something in a ceremony to ask some type of energies or deities or whatever to help you means that it's coming from the inside of you, and it's your own soul telling you what expressions, you see what I'm saying, and what is needed to bring this about. So yes, you can do it, but the question here is, with rituals, it's not for me to give you what type of ritual. It's for you to give yourself and create what type of ritual, because we're dealing with creativity. But they do work with they do work. There's rituals for everything. You just have to make up one. Okay, now we got that out the way. Okay. That goes back to something I made a comment about. Is love, can you experience the real high level crown chakra love you talking about? Like traveling through the heart chakra with somebody that's not conscious? Ultimately, no. All right. What can happen is the person that you, because this is some advanced stuff with this one. Right. That's what I'm thinking of this. I'm talking about the way I feel. The thought of me not producing love for her, is murderous. God damn, dude. I have one desire, and that is to love this sister with every fiber, or she can chain whip my goddamn ass. Okay. That's the type of shit I'm talking. This thing is so severe. Until the thought, now we're not talking about murderous in the aspect of, I'm trying to give you the expression. I'm not talking about some insecurity. I'm talking about something that now is your life. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's a whole different thing. Can you get to that level? I think not. It has to be, what I'm talking about can't be explained in human terms because it very rarely happens on the planet Earth. We're talking about things that's like 1 in a million.
Right.
But I'm at that level. I can't explain it, you have to get to that level, whereas this being compliments you till in so many words, it is your other self. No separation. Now you can live without a lot of things, but you can't live without yourself. You see what I'm saying? So that's a whole other thing. We'll get deeper into that particular realm. But as far as, so give or take, let's say if you can, what can you do with a person that's not on that level? The best thing you can do is, by loving that person unconditionally, you're loving yourself, because it's still, again, it's your heart chakra. But on the other hand, you can just kick back and live a life of just being used to each other. A comfort zone, huh?
Ain't that hell a reoccurring?
It definitely is. Well, let's put it this way. If we are doing a tape to get to the ultimate solutions,
that's right,
then that's the same shit everybody else is out here doing.
Yeah, fuck that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we're trying to encourage people to do the ultimate, and that is to walk away from anything. You see what I'm saying? It's keeping you from a higher level, and sometimes even if you end up by yourself, it's better than being in some bullshit that you know ultimately ain't gonna never be nothing. Because even if you by yourself, there's the 1/1,000,000th of a chance that there's some possibility. But one thing is definite with a person, you see what I'm saying, that's not in sync and never will be, you're trapped in slavery.
God damn.
You see what I'm saying?
That's it, bro.
I tell anybody, and children, I don't give a damn if they fucking 2 days old, should not be the criteria
That's right.
of why you stay. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because children can adapt to anything.
I know I did.
You know what I'm saying? You can't miss, but you can't measure. You see? And there's a bigger esoteric question on that too, but we'll get to that later.
All right. Wow, Bobby. Okay, now what we just was talking about. What are soulmates, twin souls, soulmates, and twin flame soulmates? And can you find that person?
Okay, first one I want to deal with is soulmates. You can have several soulmates. Ginger was my soulmate. But a soulmate can be a person also that you was in another lifetime with. And they came back to do a certain work. To give you an example. Because I can use my own experience. That's the good part about sitting with a person who's gone through a lot of things and then and basically chronicle and survey these things. All of these things are your own experience. Well, let's give you my experience. This way it takes it off the philosophy level.
Right.
Ginger was in the priesthood with me back in Hemmitt, Egypt. She was a student of mine that I ended up going with, having a passionate affair with, but it interfered with our work and we ended up both getting kicked out of the mystery system. Now, it's not the only time I was in the mystery system. I was in the mystery system several times in Hemmitt. This was just one particular incarnation, because you have many incarnations. And I've been a priest for thousands of years in different incarnations. In Hemmitt, in Samaria, in Lumeria, in Atlantis, and all of that type of stuff if you really want to deal with how old the earth is. But at this particular incarnation, I was a priest. and we got kicked out because I retarded retarded her learning, or I was an impediment upon her learning process because I got real personal with it and all. And I got kicked out of the mystery system. We both did. So at this particular time, to make wrong that right, she was on the other side of the country in California. She came all the way to Atlanta to be with me, and we completed what we had to do in this incarnation for 7 years. You see what I'm saying? And 7 being a mystical number, 7 chakras, completion. You see, completion and all. So that is one of the one of the aspects of a soulmate. She was a soulmate. But now, then there is the soul's half. And that's a rare link. But I do know that that's what this is. It's the soul's half. You say, well, how would you know that? I say, because I went through 12 women, advanced women on a certain level, certain spiritual meanings, because I follow things to the T. And then this comes up, and there's no doubt about it. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. And not only I knew this person for almost 6 years, 6, 7 years, and from the first day I met her, I called her my cousin or my family member. And I couldn't understand why. It's because, hell, she was a part of me, and part of my family, part of me. And only until now, it's come to the point where my eyes are open to this. So there are soul halves. You see what I'm saying? On that particular aspect, with
twin soul?
That's a twin soul. That's what that would be called, a twin soul.
And what is a twin flame soul?
Same thing.
Same thing. All right.
Yeah. The soul is a sun. S-U-N-S-O-N.
All right, got you.
Yeah.
Now, how do you find that person? How do you know it if you around that person? How do you find them?
Okay. If it is necessary to find them, then the spirit world you will find each other. It's as simple as that.
Well, how can you tell that's the person?
You'll find the person. I'll explain that in a minute. But sometime in this cycle, if it's not necessary, then it's not necessary to find them, and it can go either way. How do you find that person? I would say personally, based on my experience and my knowledge, based on the cycle that we are in now, because every person is conscious. That's what we make these tapes for, are those people who are listening to this thing, because I'm not really interested in talking to people who are just hearing knowledge for the first time. Anybody that's conscious at this particular time should understand that we are at the twilight period of the end times of this creation period. So, more than likely, a lot of people we come in contact with at this particular time, some of those twin souls are going to be right in the vicinity. Now, how can you tell? The twin souls are usually inseparable, which means a lot of the idiosyncrasies and pathologies that would normally go with even very powerful lovers, you tend to get past that. They say love is a union of opposites. But then there comes a time whereas both opposites are polarized in you, and the person that you meet is just like yourself. You know, and both of you have gotten rid of your idiosyncrasies and that particular aspect, that you just know it. You just know it. It's something. Anybody that's conscious at this particular time should understand that we are at the twilight period of the end times of this creation period. So, more than likely, a lot of people we come in contact with at this particular time, some of those twin souls are going to be right in the vicinity. Now, how can you tell? the twin souls are usually inseparable, which means a lot of the idiosyncrasies and pathologies that would normally go with even very powerful lovers, you tend to get past that. They say love is a union of opposites. But then there comes a time whereas both opposites are polarized in you, and the person that you meet is just like yourself. You know, and both of you have gotten rid of your idiosyncrasies and that particular aspect, that you just know it. You just know it. It's something that in the realm of spirit, you just know it. You see what I'm saying? Just like you know when it's time to go to bed. Or just like you know when it's time to die. You see what I'm saying? You would just know it. It's, believe me, it is so powerful. And usually, it doesn't take a long time. It can happen overnight. And it can be some person that you totally didn't expect it. You see, it's just one of those things whereas at this particular time, remember now, a lot of this stuff, because we're so messed up in the society, a lot of this stuff hadn't been done before. So we're on the cutting edge of it. So, it's not that much ample evidence. You know what I'm saying? It's not as cut as dry as that. You will know it. The soul will know it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. Okay. There's another question I was given, and it was another sister. Same thing. Women, man. Touch on people's misconceptions about love.
Misconceptions about love.
I mean, that's a big question.
That's a vague question. It's broad.
It's broad.
In the aspect, and I think that I would go with was some of the biggest down here. Two. One has to do with the society and the misconception where I think you have to ask yourself, are you comfortable with love because of a social setting, a material setting, or is it just something that you can't put your hand on? True love has nothing to do with these packages they come in. You know what I'm saying? Have nothing to do with these packages they come in. They just are. You see what I'm saying? And that can be a misconception. This was another great misconception about love. Women tend to fall victim of this one. They say, if he loved me, he wouldn't have done this, or he wouldn't have done that. And what we don't realize is a woman's concept of love could be different than a man's concept of love based on we both have different training. We are raised different from children. Right. So your concept, now let me give you an example. Because in this aspect of love, love is chaos, and chaos never stops moving. It's unpredictable. So you can't pinpoint it down with a set of laws to say this is the way love's supposed to be. Whenever you do that, you box it in. You understand what I'm saying? And it just dies. So really, this whole process, that we talking about this love at this particular time, this whole process that we're dealing with, there can't be these rigid laws to define it. Now, I'll give you an example of what I mean. To understand the difference of women thinking different than men, and it could be something socially, more than biologically, but still yet, the question was, what is people's misconceptions of love? And by the way, my mother told me this. It's the first person I heard it from. Then I witnessed it with my own eyes with one of my friends. A man can be madly in love and can go out and have passionate sex with somebody else. And somehow women that are not trained are not, I don't want to say trained, but I want to say the word that are not socialized into this particular way of doing things cannot, for the damnedest of them, cannot understand it. But then there are women that can be in love and can be prostitutes. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Nymphomaniacs or whatever, just like sex. They can get past that. You understand what I'm saying? So we do know that biologically a woman can do this and be in love. But for most of the social behavior of women in most societies, especially in most modern societies, it doesn't occur as the way it is with a man. But a man can go out, and I have had a friend that was so in love until when it wasn't going right, he would be in the bed sick. I have seen this guy love to that particular aspect on that level, but it was still, it was early. It wasn't the cosmic stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about he was madly in love, and no one can say that this guy wasn't. And a week later, we roll in stuff, and we meet some girls, and we both make love to these women. You know what I'm saying? And he's not sitting up in there and not enjoying it. But it has nothing to do with him not being in love. And the woman will say, well, if he loved me, he wouldn't have done it. No. That's your concept of it, and that can be a misconception. Now, I'm not necessarily telling you that to give over to the extreme, but I'm still trying to tell you something. It's all about understanding. You see what I'm saying? It's all about understanding. And that's what we're talking about here. Trying to understand this thing. You see. So, those are misconceptions. We can go into other ones. We can go into other ones. But that's why it should, the aim of love should be what they call it, unconditional. Unconditional. And one of the and I think one of the biggest misconceptions of love is confusing love with sex. You see what I'm saying? Confusing love with sex. You see what I'm saying?
So what part does sex play?
Well, it plays a major aspect of it. You understand what I'm saying? It plays a major aspect of it. The soul, that is how the soul actually engage in the physical process down here.
That's why they call love making.
Love making. The soul engages in the physical process. Wow. It is the soul's playground. It is how the soul expresses itself. You see what I'm saying? It is how the soul expresses itself. It is let's put it this way. Now, you say, no, because in that case, that would be a contradiction, because people can have sex without being in love. Yes, you can. Right. But I'm trying to tell you this. I can use this pencil, and I could write something down. I could write all day long. And it really is just some memo or something that I'm writing to communicate. But then again, on the other hand, I could also take this pencil and write to express myself. I'm still using the same art form, or I'm still using the same process. You understand what I'm saying? But the same medium. But they're two different types of things that's going on. One is a creation process, and one is more of a function. I'll give you an example. I'm an artist. I was trained in photorealism, which means I could take a picture, and I could draw a picture so good until you'd have to look close to see if it was a photograph. I was obsessed by that. And it got me all kind of awards. It got me on the dean's list in college. It did a whole lot for me. And then I met a guy named L.O.V.E. Mills late in my college career who was a master. And he said, you are a good draftsman. You can depict, you can draw an image to perfection, but you have no creative skills whatsoever. So if I asked you to express yourself other than drawing a perfect picture, you couldn't do it. And he was right. Here I was, been in school damn near 4 years at one school, 2 years at this school, and couldn't even express myself on an artistic way. But I could draw. I was the best artist in 2 states. One of the best artists in South Carolina and one of the best artists in Georgia as far as drawing. But I was at 0 level of creativity, which means I couldn't create nothing because I spent most of my time at a draftsman table. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the difference about expressing yourself. Sex is a vehicle for love to express itself, but sex could also be a vehicle to just fucking. So it's 2 different things. One is a function, one is creativity. And that's why I found out that I was not an artist. But the best draftsman, the best artist, as far as to get the job done, my artwork is impeccable. You be like, oh my God, how can you do it? It looks like a photograph. It's perfect. But as far as the content of the picture, it's just a goddamn picture of a woman or a man or whatever. That's the difference. You know, as far as sex being a part of that type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good one, man. All right, I got another question from another sister that says, does it matter to a man, I'm going to ask for man and woman also, I'm going to do man first. Does it matter to a man who says, I love you first? And if so, why?
Me personally, I think because a woman from the time she's a child, she's trained to receive love. And she has no problem when it does hit of expressing it. I think that it's the single most important thing to a woman's life is love. And me being in love now and knowing that I got the ultimate prize means that I realize now that the woman is probably way smarter than man. Because if you've ever been in love, why wouldn't you want to be in love? It's some dynamite shit. And goddamn women, they're never, even when they're not in love, they're never far from this notion of being in love. You see what I'm saying? Of being in love. So, when a man says he loves her before she says he loves, before she says it, ain't nothing for her to say it. You see what I'm saying? Because she was born for that. So when a man says it in a society and a socialization, whereas in this society we're even trained to even fight love, insecure about love, afraid about love. We don't like things controlling us this way based on our egos. Remember they said, Neil, you like to be in control. So when a man is clear enough to say he loves her, I think it's very important to a woman, you see what I'm saying, to take that in consideration and take heed, because if there's anybody who's not prone to not even to saying love or prone to even knowing what the shit is about, it's us. We can totally miss the fucking picture. You know what I'm saying? Totally miss the picture. So, I personally, I think if a man says he's in love before she does, she has a rare situation. You see what I'm saying? Of course, not unless, but then again, not unless it's some nerd type cat or some type of brother that's just not used to women, you know. But if he got anything going on, and the reason why he said, well, why don't you talk on behalf of the nerd? Because I already know the black woman. She hard on a nigga when it comes to doggone picking. She the pickiest shit in the damn society. She can look like shit and want her a motherfucking knight in shining armor.
Yeah, you're right. Wow, man. I was going to bring it to the woman, but you pretty much answered that one with it. Does it matter to a woman who says, I love you first? And if so, why? Some women...
Well, I was actually answering for the woman to say it should.
Because some women are afraid to say I love you because they've been hurt before.
You do have that. I have to take that in consideration also.
They'll wait, and then when the guy says it, they still don't want to say it back.
Right.
Or if a guy, same thing with a guy, he'd get the woman and she'll say I love you, and he'd be scared to say it back.
Right, yeah.
Hurt.
Right,
you know,
yeah. She's been hurt, yeah. Yes. But here goes again. Usually, that's not her nature. So if she's been hurt, we can understand that.
Right.
So it shouldn't matter to a guy if she says she's hurt and he realizes that this is what has happened. You see what I'm saying? This is what has happened. You know, yeah. Another misconception of love I want to put down here before we go. Pretty much, women have gathered together and they have made a good job of of understanding men who fall short of certain things because they don't want to get hurt. So it's, you know what I'm saying. But I think this is one that women should know themselves, that it's a victim of Western society. Young women, and I'm not making this assessment based on from a male's point of view. I'm making this assessment from a female's point of view by noticing something about young women, keeping it to myself, and then later on hearing it from older women. But I first was made privy to it by my mother. But I'm glad that I sat back to find out for my own self on the different age groups and find out with a lot of sisters that's in the Jubilee period, which is the 50-year-olds, and some that's in their mid-40s that can understand this because they're looking in retrospect. And that is based on what a lot of women say, is that when they are young, they do not like nice men. They don't like nice guys. You should have maybe it has something to do with the society of nice guys finish last. That it could be a Western thing. And I'm quite sure it is, because I mean it is kind of really messed up for you to like a person that don't like you. But I do know this for a fact. I first was made privy to this with my mother. She said, man, you in college. She said, now don't be fucking around going up there and being nice, because a nice motherfucker better get the fuck out of my face. This is my mama, a school teacher. And she's saying how she knows what was going on when she was young. You understand what I'm saying? What was going, and I think it's even worse now with the roughneck and the shit that has been produced with the hip hop world. It's probably even worse with girls and the whole gangster shit. But this thing is prevalent enough, even in my mother's age. You see what I'm saying? Of being a teenager in their fucking 50s. You see what I'm saying? Early 50s or whatever. The point I'm trying to make here is that's one of the misconceptions. Now, the sisters that are now in their 50s are telling me, when I was younger, I didn't like nice guys. But too often, when they figured it out, sometimes it's too late for sisters, because we got such a disproportion of men in this society. The ones that's in jail, You see what I'm saying? The ones that's already married, the ones that's gay, and then the ones that's dysfunctional, sexually, and some just bums or some type of thing that you can't even deal nothing with. So the point I'm trying to make here is, a lot of times when they figure it out, it's too late for a lot of sisters. You see what I'm saying? It's too late for a lot of sisters. So that's a bad misconception, and I'm glad I went back to that question, because that is major. You understand what I'm saying? And they must challenge this idea, or they must challenge this, because the simple fact here is, some of these girls are not, all men are dogs. No, some of these girls, they draw to them these types of things based on what they like. They say think, and it is. Well, they have a certain concept of what they like, and they draw this to them. And a lot of times, it is dog men. There was a guy from your neck of the woods, New York, down in college with me. This brother was a straight-up psychopath. He would go to jail every semester for fighting and all this, and it didn't get, okay, when he was a freshman, that's all right. He just coming out of high school. But it didn't get no better each year until they finally threw this nigga out of school and stuff for just raising too much hell. They waited till his senior year and they got his ass and threw him out of school. And I remember the day his father was coming to pick him up, they literally had to pry this girl from his neck. He is one of the biggest psychopaths on the campus of thousands. He was the worst. And I noticed he didn't have no trouble with women. You see what I'm saying? None with women. Then when a woman try to sometimes say, I'm severely damaged, you see what I'm saying? Now on the other hand, she has to look at this psychopath that she has conjured up. Now on the other hand, I have known guys with 4.0s. These motherfuckers could build radios out of this damn table. Build a damn race car out of some fucking fabric. These niggas are now CEOs of corporations now, and the same women are going, why can't I meet a man like that? And they didn't even consider them. You see what I'm saying? When they were young. So this is one that's a vicious cycle. You know, yeah.
All right. Want another one?
Yeah, how many more you got?
A couple more.
Well, you might as well finish them off.
Yeah, we're going to knock them out. All right. Damn, you just did this one. But it leads into something deeper. How are people able to get with the wrong person?
Right.
And what makes love so powerful that people can be blinded by love?
Okay. Well, on one aspect, I can add a little light to say that they say that love is because they say that love is a opposite of unions. A union of opposites. So by love being a union of opposites, I can see how it can be very powerful when you like a person who's not like you, which makes a lot of sense. And I think too often that's what happens when they can get with the wrong person also. And be very attracted to them. So there's a metaphysical aspect of the woman being attracted to somebody, you see what I'm saying, that's not like her and stuff. But it's a thin line, you see, with abuse. But it goes back to the same thing. The wrong person could very well be an entrapment of something you think you want. And it's always based on a survey of what you should have. You see what I'm saying? A survey of what you should have. And understanding this type of stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Here we go. This is a grand champ question, and I'm sure you hear. Why are black people so in love with their enemies?
With their enemies. Okay, well, since we're talking about love, I guess that can be a form of love. I think that's a perverted form of love. That's Stockholm syndrome. So in that particular case, that's not really true love. But some of the same principles of opposites attract applies. You understand what I'm saying? Down here, but on the other hand, it's a perverted aspect because the simple fact here is it's a form of mind control, Stockholm syndrome, where the kidnapped falls in love with the kidnapper. Or the battered woman falls in love with the man that is the batterer. You see what I'm saying? It's the same Stockholm syndrome. And I think that's the perverted aspect of it. You see, of it. But on the molecular, on the deep psychological levels, we like sometimes that which is different. And John Henry Clark said, how did we become so fascinated? You see what I'm saying with white folks? But then again, let's look at contrast. And I think this got something to do with other races. Now let me show you what I'm talking about. We can go to Europe now, and they say that they are fascinated with black folks.
Especially American black.
American black men and black women.
Right.
And singers and stuff like that. But I'll give you an American case. There was a high school teacher that was from South Dakota. And he said because there was a black family that moved into the community. And it was the only black family. He said, and they would invite them all, everybody wanted to invite the black family to dinner. He said it got so bad until they damn near had fights on who was going to invite the black family to dinner because they wasn't used to them, so it became an infatuation. So sometimes the contrast, you see that white skin in a black community, it represents something so different. You see, and although you see it on TV, I'm talking about the contrast of you in a black community, everybody in there black, and you got this white person walking around. And it can either go either way. It can be very strange looking, or it can be fascinating. You see what I'm saying? On the subconscious level. But what he was talking about is based on mind control. We love that which hates us, and that is the Stockholm syndrome, that which has terrorized us. And that's called a pedagogy of the oppressed. The oppressed falls in love with the oppressor because why? He has the mind of the oppressor. So they take the mind. If I hate black folks, and I give this black person my mind by wiping his mind out, simply by eliminating his culture, then that black person who receives my mind that hates black people, he will hate black people also because the mind becomes in opposition to the body. And he will also love white people. You understand what I'm saying? He would love white people because he has the white mind. So the oppressed take on the mindset of the oppressor. That's they say, whoever controls the people controls the mind of the children.
So that form of mind control, that was intentionally done, or you think it's a byproduct, or is it like a psychological byproduct, or did the enemy know they gonna love us more than they love themselves? We're like, along with that Christianity teaching.
Remember now,
turn on the cheek shit, you know, like
remember now, it was a process of learning what to do. Remember now, we were in lab experiments in the breeding forms of slavery. Right. See, a lot of times we misconstrue that we were bred. I don't want to get too far off the subject, but it does have a lot to do with love too, and how we have these misconceptions. Because one of the misconceptions is, to give you an example, let me clear this up first. We have a misconception, and we don't know a lot of time because the act was committed 100, 200, 300 years ago, that we were bred to be the way we were. You see, to be the way we were. Now this is all in line when it comes to black male and female male relationship, or male and female relationship, because some of the biggest male chauvinists are women, because they have been given a set of patriarchal ideas. They were bred in them based on the society, and they view women from a patriarchal concept or a male chauvinist concept. You see what I'm saying? And that's why women are the fastest to turn against each other. And why is this? It's still a victim of a patriarchal society, because a woman has to have it's based on competition. She's constantly have to compete with the man based on looks, based on this. You see what I'm saying? Based on social aspect, classism, and different things like that. You see? So it all comes together. You see, on that particular level.
Well, we got through the questions, and on that note, we're going to take a brief break, and we will be back with some more about love. Peace.
All right.
We're back.
All right.
All right, man.
What I'm going to get into now is the 10 Mahabodhiyas. 10 Mahabodhiyas is a book that, well, you can get the book on the 10 Mahabodhiyas by David R. Kinsley. David R. Kinsley. It's on the 10 Mahabodhiyas. The 10 Mahabodhiyas are different aspects of the goddess. In this particular case, because we're talking about the Indian mythology, is different aspects of the goddess Kali. And what happens is that Shiva has to go in, and he makes love to each one of these 10 Mahabodhiyas. And one way he's making love to 10 aspects of the goddess. You know, the 10 aspects of the goddess in this 10 Mahabodhiyas. And after the 10 Mahabodhiyas, I'm quite sure it culminates into the goddess Parvati, who is the goddess Shakti, which means mountaintop, which means he's at the highest level that he can go when it comes to love or sex. And so as a result, he basically is on this particular level that he's at the mountaintop, he's at the peak, he's at the pinnacle, and at the meridian point, the apex of the height of love. In my own situation, I did that. It ended up being 12 different energies. All of those very special. But between the first one, which was the passionate aspect of the love affair, and what's going into what will finally be the 13th aspect, which will be which is a key number, 12 signs of the zodiac. So I don't know whether it was 12 or 10. I know it's 10 in the mythologies. Between the first one and the 13th one is he experiences all aspects of the goddess, and all aspects of the goddess, and as a result, when he's ready for number 13, he finds out that number 13 is the culmination of all the other ones. So all the other ones are in the number 13, in the 13th one. So this is almost like graduation point. I say that to say that to learn a little more about the goddess energy and the love as well as the sexual aspect, you need to get that book, David R. Kinsley's book, The Secret Goddess. Now, the 10 Mahabodhiyas is the name of that book. Next, we're going to get into this particular book, Sex Magic, Tantra, and Tarot, by Christopher Hyde, Ph.D., and Lon Milo Duquette. And Lon Milo Duquette. And in this book, it's called Sex, Magic, Tantra, and Tarot, The Way of the Secret Lover. And I've been quoting this in my lectures for about 3-4 years now, but I want to put this and enter this in this whole thing of the love aspect of my complete love of tape on love. Each of us has a secret lover, a lover who awaits just behind the erotic images and that flood our minds during sexual arousal and in sleep. A dream lover who disguises as an individual with whom we all fall in love. An ideal lover who has adored us since the beginning of our individual existence and who will never abandon us until the instant we merge into the absolute Godhead. And I realize something that's going on right now at this particular time. I think it's some forces around us that don't want this thing to happen, because I think we hit upon the key. You know what I'm saying? We've been battling with this tape the whole time. Now what's interesting now is I realize
all right. Go ahead, bro.
There's all kind of things. We've been going through hell just to put this presentation together. Which was interesting here is early I bit my fucking tongue eating real good. And I'm like, well, why did this happen right before a major presentation? And I'm like, wait a minute, there's some forces that's going on. So I'm a little tie-tongue with the presentation. It's the first time I have had trouble speaking. So I know that we have hit upon something that is very important, enough that the last vestiges of the forces that want to keep us down understand that this is the last frontier and they don't want us to deal with this. But we're going to go ahead with it anyway. We immediately feel the embrace of our secret lover in ecstasy of orgasm and in the moments of rapture when the beauty of music, dance, or the vital art or nature overcomes us. Visual art and nature overcomes us. Whatever we experience, or whenever we experience a broken heart, it is often because other individuals has not lived up to the perfection of our secret lover. The reason the sexual experiences are often better in our imagination or in memory than in actuality is because it is the imagination of the secret lover. It is in the imagination of the secret lover which is nearest to us. Personal relationships will always be somewhat disappointing to us. And in truth, there can never be a relationship that matches our own when matches the one we already have with our secret lover. It is the standard in which we and everything is measured. The irony is most of us are not aware of our relationship with our secret lover. Surrender to the secret lover is the actual theme of most religions And yet the doctrines and the practices of the world's so-called religions tend to dilute or deflect or detour the individual from the genuine personal experience. Moreover, religious establishments have unceasingly strived to conceive their congregations, and that the most private of all religious events is not a personal experience at all, but an ambiguous, incomprehensible occurrence to be publicly affirmed and validated by the priestcraft. They in turn allow you to practice or participate with them to promote the sacred marriage. So in so many words, they're saying that the priests or the religions are striving for something when they're talking about your personal relationship with Christ. That personal relationship that they're talking about is nothing but the personal relationship with your soul or the heart chakra. Or the heart chakra. And that's what that is talking about. Going back into this particular science, we're still talking about the soul, the heart chakra, and the inner self that has been diluted or deflated or been misconstrued to think it's the actual other person. But the secret lover that we're talking about is your heart chakra and your own personal spiritual aspect of your own soul. Because ultimately this love that we're talking about is your own soul. Now, all right, we are back. In one of the Shiva mythologies, because Isis, Osiris, Shiva, we're still talking about the same duality of male and female in the interaction of love. And so we got this ancient mythology that can explain all of this. The Pravati, which is the aspect of Isis or even Mayat in East India, they talk about a dice game that both Shiva and Pravati engage in. And as a result, Pravati wins the dice game. And I'll try to explain what this is about. In this particular book called coming from Oxford University, The God Inside Out, Shiva's Game of Dice, by Don Handelman and David Schulman. Don Handelman and David Schulman. In this particular book, it says this book offers a new explanation of mythology of the Hindu god Shiva, who spends time playing dice with his wife, whom he habitually loses. The result of this game is our world, which turns the god inside out and changes his initial or his eternal, composition. And it goes on to say how he is so much engaged in this game that he eventually loses perpetually. Now, why is that? He loses perpetually because he can never truly, being a male, win out over woman. Because when he fights with woman, he's fighting with his own internal self. Being that the Kundalini energy or the sexual energy inside of us, which is the energy that catapults us up the chakra system, is a feminine energy. So that's why man has to, in his own right, get in touch with his feminine forces or feminine side, and in doing so, he can conquer or synthesize this overwhelming thing that we call love. That we call love. And I guess that's the reason why I said earlier that women are smarter than men, that they are trained on this love thing from a child, and it is a lot easier for them to accept it or even recognize it at first when it first hits, and don't fight against it. And so I think that's what this thing of Shiva, you losing the dice game, is that ultimately she's always going to be one step ahead. But then again, on the other hand, that is great because she is the initiator of these particular mysteries. If man initiates, they say a lot of time, matters of the mind and knowledge, woman initiates matters of the soul. And that's the difference in a nutshell. But Pravati, which is the Shakti power that is inside of the vital essence of us as sexual beings, it goes to say, and I'll quote, that Pravati, her energy goes all the way back to the beginning of creation. Now I want to quote this. It's in the book, The Presence of Shiva. And they say that her energy goes all the way back to the beginning of creation. Pravati's energy. And I want to see what this thing is talking about here. Government, okay. It says, am I going to get this right? Trying to see here. Here it is. Let's see if we got this right. Page 349. You all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, page 349. Well, it's going to work out. It says, okay. Hold on. It's working, man. Huh? You gotta change it. Now, they're talking about the goddess Pravati of Aset. This is very important, this particular part about Pravati. They're saying that her very soul, the soul of this beautiful woman, which has a lot to do with black women in general. It goes to say in the book The Presence of Shiva that Pravati, her soul goes all the way back to the time before creation, before the great fall. Before the great fall. We good on the sound? Before the great sound fall. Which means if we as black people, man and woman, black man and black woman, tap into our true essence of our souls, then our souls would end up being a primordial energy that existed before creation. Now try to understand this, and I'll try to set up what's going on with the white man and the civilization on what they know. A soul is a sun. When we fall in love, it is the expression or the energy of the soul that we are experiencing. It's the awakening of the soul. And the love is the result of the awakening of the soul, either for a small glimpse in time or a major glimpse. But when our souls wake up, unlike other races, because we are the original people, that means that very well there could be a few human beings or two human beings that can possess aspect. There is a black woman in America that has a pussy that was in existence before the creation of time. You see. And a black man that has a dick that was in existence before the creation of time. And it is the government to make sure that even if you come together economically, socially, you see what I'm saying? You will be at odds and you will be in such a struggle. You see what I'm saying? That you will never be able to tap into that higher self. Or, if you got too much money, that's still a distraction. Because you will be forever, number one, trying to keep it, or number one, trying to see what you can buy, or number one, thinking that in actuality you are bored because you have missed the point that you had it all before the money, and the money can never bring you things. So it's always some kind of confusion that's actually going, this actually going down. You see, even to the point we get this particular book by Crowley called Atlantis, one of the few books that they don't print. And ironically, they print a lot of his stuff, but they don't print this particular book. It's a small book. It would be cheaper to produce, but they don't print it for the mere fact that he said that the word Atlantis means the black woman on the second page of the book. You see, which means that if we are the ones to love, we will tap into our primordial selves. And by doing that, we can change this shit. You see, we can change this thing. I'll give you some clarity on that in a minute. And that has something to do with Krishna and Radha. Now, Krishna goes with Radha. Radha is a married woman. Well, first of all, someone said, well, man, what kind of religion is that? That the fundamental hero or the Christ figure in the religion will be going with a married woman. First of all, they're not talking about moralism. Number two, because moralism is political and has nothing to do with spiritual. Number two, two things is happening. Number one, Krishna is a god, so he is not on the level of moralism. He is the Godhead. Number two, Radha is trapped in a marriage that is a social marriage that can function based on the laws and the governments of man, but it's not a spiritual marriage. So it can ultimately never go anywhere, but just on the social level. Krishna comes in and frees her. But how is this done? How is it done? This is another book you can get called David R. Kinsley's book, The Sword and the Flute, by David R. Kinsley. Well, number one, this love has a lot to do because by her being married, they don't have a lot of time together. They know that the time that they have to spend together is not spread out, it's intense. You know, it's intense. So they don't have a lot of time to be wasting when it comes to this love that they have, where they have distractions because they're just this regular couple. You see what I'm saying? It's got a whole lot of time on their hand. When they come together, it's extremely intense. And it's intense because they know that time is the factor. She cannot be with him the whole time. So by it being so intense, they go into a realm of bliss. And by going into a realm of bliss, they create something outside of the ordinary love, which is this alternative dimension that even in the text, some of the people or the whole society that surrounds them shares in this bliss, in this enchanted world that they have built, which is the hereafter. See, same story on how this thing is done. So they know, the government again knows, that if we get a certain amount of black people to really tap into this primordial essence called love, the true love, not the one that society says, one that is beyond money, material things, and beyond life itself. If they can get one to tap into that love, then it will create an entire society and a dimension around those two lovers that the entire community, in this particular case, the primordial beings, the original people, will benefit from by destroying the matrix. And this is what Christian and Radha does in the text. At first she sneaks off at night into the enchanted forest to be with him. Then it gets to the point where, and then not only that, when she cannot be with him, she sets up this longing for him that generates more energy. So sometimes longing is great, you see, because it generates more energy. So when they come together again, the energy is even stronger than when they were before. And each time they are building sections into this new world of the bringing in this energy into this new world. So it's almost like having this corrupt, illusionary, fallen world. And these two souls come together, which represent, if this world is a globe and we're on the inside of the globe, or a balloon, and it's a fallen balloon, a globe, and these two souls would represent two pinpoints or needles in the balloon. And although the balloon is tough enough not to burst, each time they come together, the hole gets bigger and bigger, and light comes in and shines into the troubled world. That later on, the troubled world, when the hole gets big enough, it explodes. And they are into a whole new realm. This is what we're talking about here today. More than just male and female relationships. We're talking about the metaphysics of this shit transforming our people. You see what I'm saying? This is what we're talking about here. And that's what happens with the Krishna and Radha story. Get the book, like I said, The Sword and the Flute by David R. Kinsley. Kingsley or Kinsley. Which goes to the lingam and the yoni. The lingam and the yoni. The lingam is the penis and the yoni is the vagina. Now, you will see pictures in ancient symbology. Now draw this. Of a snake biting its tail. This is called the Uros of the great round of the first day. This means that one is the beginning and one is the end, the completion. So in the beginning there's the yoni, but then again in the beginning there's the penis, because it pierces the darkness. Either way, it sets up this great round. Now, the concept here is that both Krishna and Radha, or the earlier myth Shiva and Shakti, or Shiva and Parvati, is that the lingam of Shiva, which is the penis, and the yoni of Parvati or Shakti, which is the vagina, is two separate ends of the complete universe. And when they meet, they can change what structure in the universe that's gone astray. Here goes again why we can never meet. And when we do, it can't be a certain amount of energy. We can meet sexually, but if anybody's ever been in love, the alchemical things that go on when you have making love, when you're in love, is a whole nother realm than when you're not. It's a whole nother realm. You know what I'm saying? So, this is the Uros Buros, the snake biting its tail. And that's why you would see the penis and the vagina all over India. And the penis all over Kemet. All over Kemet. But the penis will always be in front of a temple. The temple is the woman. The obelisk. You see. So they already know that the ancients gave us the secret to all of this through not only just sex, but through the male and female principles of Isis and Osiris, Shiva and Parvati, Solomon and Sheba, and on, that the sex and the love thing is the mystery to breaking this shit. You see what I'm saying? To breaking this. It's very key on how this particular thing goes. Shakti, the Kundalini feminine power, which is very interesting here, because the Kundalini energy is both in male and female, is the feminine power. So, one way to keep us down, even in the conscious community, which I'm so glad that all of your religions and cult leaders and shit have passed now, whereas they would tell you that one would be superior over the other. Male would be superior over the female. What they don't want you to know is the great mystery of the sexual energy that is inside of us, which is the Kundalini energy, is a feminine energy. So one mystery of breaking this down, going into this, is to understand that you are nothing but two of the same halves, twin souls meeting. And there's no such thing as you being inferior than the other when you both were way before the physical aspect. But ultimately, it's one energy, which is the feminine energy. So in so many words, the black man is the only one who has the complete aspect of the Kundalini energy in him that works totally from the sacral vertebrae, the root chakra, all the way up to the pineal gland. He is the only person, like his woman, that has the complete aspect that he's both male and female, just like his woman is both male and female. That's why Horus is called the double-wanded one, which means both male and female. You know, entity that rose up lava, though, I've been talking about for years. A lot of motifs on this great dragon is male. A lot of the motifs on the great dragon is female. But ultimately, it's this feminine energy. This feminine energy. Now, Shiva in the mythology burns up karma. Not karma, but karma. Karma is sexual desire. It's desire for that particular human being, period. But karma, like anything down here, can wax and wane. It goes with one of the questions we were just talking about. It can wax and wane, ebb and flow. If you don't preserve it, or if you don't deal with the science of preserving this karma, it will burn up. And so Shiva, in one of his aspects, burns up karma, which is desire, which is eros, which is also love. But then Parvati restores it back on down the line. So in so many words, when I was talking about how my experience was, I went through a certain love that opened up my heart chakra, and I experienced my soul. Then the energy burned up. It burned up in a couple of minutes. I sat in the chair one day, and it burned up. And now the energy is back, restored, the desire, the love, and all of that. But it had to burn up at first so I can go through several aspects of the goddess to come back in the complete aspect of the goddess. I went through 12 Mahabodhiyas to get all of those Mahabodhiyas in one of the 13th goddesses, which will be one that will be eternal. So this is the way energy goes. So going back to relationships, we must also know that excessive, too much of anything could also mean that in actuality you might deplete it. And so you must play games with this in the particular aspect of, like I said, don't stay in the same room all the time for those particular ones that's married. Or, you know, or preserve it. There's several ways you can do this. And, you know, there's several ways you can also do this. And, but just keep in mind that sometimes when it burns up, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're out of love. It just means that it's taken another position. It's gone to another level, or it's gone dormant for a while. But according to the mythology, it can be restored, either through another person or through the same person. Depends on whether that person was supposed to be a person that you were supposed to learn something from and then move on, or was it supposed to be a person that you're supposed to just go through a period of cooling out. As a matter of fact, one of the books that deal with this is this book, Shiva the Erotic Ascetic, by Wendy O'Flaherty. O''Flaherty. Wendy O'Flaherty. Shiva the Erotic Ascetic. And in this particular book, they talk about the burning of the karma. They talk about all the Pravati, the mountaintop. They also talk about how Pravati and Shiva get in these arguments. And they get in a knockdown, drag-out fight. And then they get into reconciliation. And they were saying that these fights are good sometimes because it keeps the karma from burning up. So this is the way they separate sometimes. To preserve that love, sometimes you got to break away. And all, you see what I'm saying? So sometimes when some of our people don't know that sometimes when they get into these particular spats, it's not that the love is gone. It's just that this thing has to happen for that love to exist. But you say, well, how about people who stay together all the time? Those people are not necessarily functioning on the highest level because they become dead. They become like drone dead zombies. You see what I'm saying? But to preserve the true love, sometimes it takes separation. You see what I'm saying? Separation. To preserve the true love. And this is how this thing goes. You know. Now, even orgasm is an expression of the soul. When you have an orgasm based on Thomas More's book, The Soul of Sex. An orgasm is a land shared between two goddesses, mother and daughter, Demeter and Persephone. When they done the aspect of the when they trace this thing back, or where they get these terminologies, at least in the Greek terminology. The good part about this is, what this means here is, whenever you have an orgasm, for that split second, you are feeling something that is in a world that is beyond your own, that is a normal feeling in that particular world. But you only get a glimpse of it, because we are now entrapped in slavery. So an orgasm is this solar phallic energy. It's the sun. It's the soul. And it's almost like a trapdoor flings open, the light of the soul shines in and it shuts. But when this thing flings open again, and the whole world has an orgasm, and it stays open, it will destroy this world. Can you imagine, for that split second you have the orgasm, if the orgasm came on and never went away? You would actually die. So it's the same aspect of what happens here with the world. We're getting into the the essence of how this whole coming together of the male and female works. So when you have that orgasm, for that split second or whatever it is, you are feeling something of the realm that you fell from and became encased in the actual physical. Where is that realm you came from? That realm is your soul. So the whole concept of Jesus saves, the Christ, if you take it away from the physical debauchery of a man that the Romans give you, the Christ is nothing but your soul. Your soul saves, not your soul. Jesus saved your soul. The Christ element means when your soul becomes attained the level of Christ, it is saved, because it is broken outside of the matrix that entraps it in physical bondage. So the soul itself is the Savior, because the soul is the Christ. Christos, Chrysalis, Pegasus, Horus, Perseus. The soul is the Christ. So whenever you have an orgasm, you are feeling the soul. Trapdoor opens for a split second and closes back. About like what love is. Love is a lot longer than a couple of seconds, but still yet it's a doorway in time when you glimpse the divine. And it's constantly burning out unless you surrender self, and you can keep this thing forever. It can be eternal. You can be eternal. So that's what an orgasm is. Moving right along. Sekhmet, the goddess Sekhmet, in Kemet, her land is called Sekhet Aru, which means fields of blood or the paradise. So paradise in Kemet is called Sekhet Aru, which is the realm of Sekhmet. But Sekhmet is also the original Kundalini goddess, Shakti. Is Shakti in India is Sekhmet or Sekhet in Kemet, which is the original Kundalini goddess, but her realm is what the Egyptians or Canaanites called the hereafter. So here goes again, that this sexual energy that we long for, and empires have been rose and destroyed off of this sex. Sex is the number one shit on the planet, some way or other, one way or another. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't think so, you got some work to do. But that sexual energy, again, is called Sekhet Aru, which means the hereafter. So when we experience that orgasm again, or the whole act of sex, and that desire and that lust, all of that is nothing but glimpses of the other side, you see what I'm saying, that we have to conjure up in love making and different aspects to get to that particular side, to have glimpses of it. But in India, the Shakti power, they say there will be the return of Shakti. So wait a minute, one man it's the Kundalini energy, it's a sexual energy, but it's also the realm that the Hindus say that they'll ultimately end up in. Well, in Kemet, it's a Kundalini energy, a sexual energy called the Sekhet Aru, but yet it is where the Egyptians say they'll end up in. Then you can understand why they have to shut down the production of the black man and the black woman, both sexually, if they wanted to, or solely by not producing a certain amount of love, because it has to be a certain amount of love to obtain a certain degree of another kind of orgasm. There's the regular function of orgasm in Kundalini, and then there's Kundalini that's alchemically raised through love. And that one is the one that transforms you. You see, that's the one that transforms you. Including, we come to this particular portion, is this. You got Isis and Osiris. You have Metatron Metronet. You have Ishtar, and Anana has this, I can't think of the person. Ishtar and Tammuz. You have you have Parvati and Shiva, Krishna, Radha, Jason, Medea, Dionysus, Ariadne. The list goes on and on and on of this primordial pair that's talking about the same two, Isis, Osiris, Aset, Osar. Now, in the myth of Solomon and Sheba, Queen of Sheba, which they say is from Ethiopia, so it automatically tells you it's the black woman. The Queen of Sheba, she gives him a riddle. It's recorded in this book, The Black Goddess and the Unseen Real, in the Unseen Real, and I think it might be even in another book that you might, because this one here costs $80 by Peter Redgrove. Peter Redgrove, but there might be another one. Let's see. There might be another one. And then I want to give you a cheaper book that you can get. Let's see, a cheaper book you can probably get. 45. Let's see, notes. Let's see. I'm trying to get this right. Extrasensory perception. Let's see. 45. Raphael Patch's book. So it's probably, I don't know which one that is. Let's try to find out. He has one called Hebrew Goddess, and it might be in Hebrew Goddess. But it might be in the woman Barbara Black. Yeah, Hebrew Goddess. It's going to be in Hebrew Goddess, Raphael Patty. And it talks about here that Sheba, the Queen of Sheba, gives Solomon. Now remember, Sheba and Solomon is nothing but Isis and Osiris. There's never no historical people with this shit. The Queen of Sheba gives Solomon a riddle, and it almost knocks him off his throne, because he's supposed to be the wisest man, and he can't figure this shit out. He's the wisest man, not the wisest woman. And it says that she poses a different riddle to Solomon, these riddles to Solomon, some of which he was able to answer, some of which he was unable to answer. One of those was so outrageous that he fell off his throne. So he actually fell off his throne. The question was, what is the color of God? Another was, what is water that is neither in the air, nor in the river, nor in the ocean, nor in rain? The answer was supposed to be the sweat of a horse's mane. But it is a double riddle. For it is the woman's love or wetness between her thighs of the Queen Sheba. You see, with her animal pubic hair. Unbelievable. I don't want to read that shit again, because that motherfucker was erotic too.
Yeah, that shit was great.
Woo!
That was good.
The riddle she gave him, what is the color of God? It was one of them. Obviously, we know what that is.
Yeah.
The other one, what is, because they didn't answer it in this book, so obviously, you know how that goes. Another was, what is water that is neither in the air, nor in the river, nor in the ocean, nor in the rain? The answer was supposed to be the sweat of a horse's mane, but it is a double riddle, because he probably got the sweat of the horse's mane being the wisest man, but by him being a man, we don't think sometimes when it comes to the woman aspect, because that's one of those riddles where she's a lesser repertoire because we've been trained that way. And obviously, it was one that he didn't get because he fell off the throne. It was a double riddle for a woman's love, or the wetness between the thighs of the Queen of Sheba with her animal pubic hair. You see, and it says now, now this is and this is one. He says this. Now, let me show you how spiritual this shit is. Let me show you how to have given. Okay. Let me show you how spiritual this is. The week before last, or last week, no, week before last, I woke up and the Spirit gave me the riddle to the question that's been asked by Isis for years. She said, I am Aset Isis, and no one has seen my veil. And I'm like, what the fuck is... I've been trying to get this riddle for 13 years. I'm quite sure it's a multiple riddle, but they gave me the ultimate answer. The Spirit said the veil is the pubic hair. Isis is the vagina. To lift the veil of Isis is to shave the pubic hair, which it says here. Now, the Spirit gave me this 2 weeks ago. Shit, I called my woman up. She got the shave in a few minutes. I said, you didn't have to, goddammit, but she did it anyway, because we're going through the mythology. Because that was the riddle that was broken, and the Spirit gave it to me. Well, it's interesting here, because I'm reading this for the first time tonight, and I've been reading this before, but I never read further enough to get the riddle, to get this part, because I had to figure it out later on, and it says, the Queen of Sheba, because it says that the Queen of Sheba with her animal pubic hair, and it says the patriarchal, that light is, I can barely see it now. Now I'm good to go. The patriarchal recensions say that Solomon pursued her to shave. He said, however, to give her a child, but in so many words. He pursued her to save the hair. The Spirit told me 2 questions. One, what is the veil of Isis, or Aset? The veil is the pubic hair, and when you shave it, Aset comes through shining. You have lifted her veil. The other, and there's a reason why. The other one is, why do you shave it? Well, you shave it to open the mouth of Osiris. Well, how does, in the opening of the mouth of Osiris has to open up his mouth so he can live again because he's been wounded. And so she opens his mouth in the opening of the mouth ceremony, and he's revived through the opening of the mouth. So you shave the hair to open the mouth through Osiris. Then what is the opening of the mouth of Osiris? The opening of the mouth of Osiris is whenever he goes down on her and licks on her clit and puts his mouth on her vagina, the fluids come down, which is the same sweat between the legs of Shiva, which is Isis, which is Kala's, which we get ready to get into, which is these vital fluids that revives Osiris. So the opening of the mouth ceremony, you got to open up your mouth to eat that pussy.
That's right.
You get it?
Oh, yeah.
So what does this mean? The opening of the mouth ceremony is, he's about to die. The veil is lifted. Because the best way to eat some pussy is to get rid of the hair, which is one that the black woman got to understand. Because we don't analyze things. This is one that the white woman figured out. It's because their hair grows like a fur. So they got to shave the shit. Ours is closer to the vagina, but the black woman still hadn't figured this shit out. That the most sensuous and sensual aspect of kunneling, the sacred art of eating pussy, which comes from ancient Africa, is when you shave the pussy, it sits right there up in your face, and you can eat it with no interruptions or hair getting in the way of the clitoris and all of those types of things. You see. And it's more effective. More effective. Now one sister like, and so the opening of the mouth ceremony is whenever you eat I'm going to get into that part too, I'll keep, yeah. But whenever you eat this thing, the collars, gunners, russels, tammers, ojas, shaktis, and collars, which is these vital sexual fluids of alchemical origin, and these cure-all, medicinal, alchemical stones, elixirs, come down in the vaginal fluid, and if you swallow them, you can regenerate your soul and your spirits and your body. This is all in alchemy. Get Serpent Power, Arthur Avalon. Or you can get the Black God, this book, The Black Goddess and the Unseen Real, by Peter Redgrove, which costs you about $80 on the internet now. On the internet now. And stuff like that. Which is taken from 9 larger books of Kenneth Grant's that talks about these collars. But this one here, he's encapsulated all of it in this one book. The key here is, one of the mysteries of lifting the veil is when you shave the hair, it's a free ride, and not only that, it's a lot more effective. Now let me give you an example. One sister with the shaven hair say, man, you are good. You are excellent. The other sister, I begged her, you got too much hair. It's like licking a goddamn afro. She had enough goddamn hair to knit 3 fucking goddamn blankets. Or to make 4 fur coats.
Ooh, boy.
So, it's like damn licking the top of a motherfucking Angela Davis head. So she gonna say, yeah, well, you know, you ain't that good at eating pussy. I'm like, no, I ain't that good at eating hair. The first thing happened is I had to take my hand and part the hair, and after a while my hand started getting distracted because it started getting a little irritated because my hand, not on the vagina, but just the hand. If you take a hand and lay it on your hand long enough, it will get irritated. But I'm doing this stuff and I'm trying to part the hair, but I begged her the whole goddamn summer to shave her shit. So I'm trying to part the damn hair, and it's getting awkward, and it got in the way of the process. Because this motherfucker here, you see what I'm saying, looking like Grizzly Adams between her goddamn legs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, shit.
You can braid her shit. She had enough hair, if you cut it off, you can have weeds for days. The weeds for days. The fucking Asians would love her black ass. They get paid. Plus, and it's interesting because when you study sex, and one of the good, and they tell you in the Tantra books, one of the excellent ways to also study the process of sex is watch porno. Because there's certain things that have to go on for the porno to be effective in the process of that. You see a lot in porno. And the black woman ain't figured it out yet. That the best effect is to shave your shit. Now you don't have to. use a razor, you can use clippers and get it down low enough that it doesn't bump you up or whatever, but it can also get it down low enough that the man can do his fucking job.
Increase the sensation. Right?
Exactly. And also, the hair is one of the things that contributes to the smell. And they ain't figured the goddamn shit out yet. If you shave the shit, you see what I'm saying? Ain't nothing gets trapped. The moisture don't get trapped like it did. And so therefore, the smell, you see what I'm saying as well. As a matter of fact, one of the sisters that was completely shaven had absolutely no smell at all. None. You see. So my point is it can decrease the smell. You see what I'm saying? But there is there's an esoteric thing on the realm of smell also too. But that's one of the things. But you don't have to shave. Like a lot of sisters say, you know, I don't like when it grow back. No, you can take clippers, and you can do this science. But no, the little hair clippers. You know the ones that they got to trim the beards.
Right. I know what you mean. Yeah, you don't have to go down on it. You just
no, you can just do it and stuff until you get it down to a certain point. These are the things we got to teach the people. Oh, who the hell you think supposed to do it but the man? That's a part of the ritual. He has to lift the veil. You see what I'm saying? So I've done it with the clippers and the actual razor.
Okay.
That's a part of the ritual. You are plowing away the forest to get to the jewels. Now the jewel is in the remote forest. The jewel is the clitoris. And you are plowing away the forest to get to the jewel.